I can't believe this is finally fucking happening, man. Finally, after badgering you for, 2-3 years, I get to talk to the one, the only, Roland. Oh my god. Fucking finally.
That's a hell of an intro, but I think it's somewhat undeserved.
No. I think it was really, because I remember I came across your channel when I was looking up a review for Cold Fear, and I thought to myself, this guy's made a review of it, and I kind of watched it, and I was like, hey, this guy makes pretty good videos. Most of the people in the comments were kind of disagreeing, but I liked it. Like, I thought it was pretty good. It made some dank references to Dragon Ball Z, and I thought, hey, it's pretty good. Then I came back and I kind of watched more of the, I think it was more of the Budget Barrel reviews. I was like, this shit's fucking tight. And I proceeded to go on to kind of watch most of the videos and stuff. Then you released your Half-Life 2 video, and that just cemented you as basically the best fucking thing since Spoonie. I'm just saying the truth, man. The truth.
Well, I don't know. I appreciate that. Hopefully I can actually continue doing things and not be so lazy. And I don't know. I mean, Spoonie just released another video, and it had been like 7 months or something since his last video, and it made me think, you know what? I used to pride myself on being at least more productive than Spoonie, and now I don't even have that anymore. So I really got to get my shit together. So we shall see.
Well, I really wanted to kind of I really want to ask you kind of a few things about your like gaming and shit, bro. Because it's like, all right. Cutting the crap. I think I want to say your videos on Mech Warrior were fucking incredible. They basically got me into the franchise. I picked up a copy of Mech Warrior 2 not too long ago, like after I watched your video, and I was like, fuck yeah, this game's actually pretty fucking good. Also read some of the Battletech books, and yeah, man, I wouldn't have gone to the franchise, learning about the clans. Actually, and if you don't mind me asking, have you ever read Michael Stackpole?
I have not. I've always had a bunch of Battletech books in my Amazon wish list, thinking that someday I would really sit down and gain a more in-depth appreciation of the story of the canon. But then I don't know. I mean, I don't read that much anymore. I've been working my way through the Masters of Doom for like since summer. Okay, so for like 5 months I've been trying to read that book, and I only read like for 20 minutes every month at most.
Well, I'd say Twilight of the Clans, that's actually pretty good, because it definitely details a lot of the characters that they talk about a bit more in Mech Warrior 2. It's generally pretty good stuff, and his writings, Stackpole's writing is pretty good. I think he's a decent enough sci-fi writer. He made Rama, sort of. Anyway, but besides all that bullshit, we get into... Oh, no, he did make Rama. Okay, my bad. Mostly, I wanted you to clarify on a couple of positions you had on prior videos you made, and one of them was, gamers are the dumbest people on the planet.
Oh yeah, definitely true.
It was you got a lot of shit for that statement, because a lot of people were just saying, yeah, you got a lot of shit for that.
Well, I don't know. I think it's funnier if you look at it through the lens of self-deprecating humor. I mean, somebody who has a ridiculously bloated collection of video games and who makes videos about them I spend all of my free time pretty much making videos about video games and playing video games and watching other videos about video games. It seems like someone would have to be trying pretty hard to willfully misinterpret that as a critique of other gamers and not myself.
Go.
Go for it. Also, the other thing is that, of course, originally I think I had a joke involved where every single syllable of that sentence was going to be accompanied by a different cover of an Assassin's Creed game. To sort of ram home the point, like, look at how many people are buying these that they've made, I don't know, whatever the hell it is, between the console versions and the handheld versions and the mobile versions. I don't know how many Assassin's Creed games there have been, but I think we can agree too many.
Oh, no, there's, I kind of at this point where they've pretty much milked the series dried, and they're making yearly installments. It's kind of, again, like you said, it's like Madden. Yeah, you're kind of spot on about that. I know, I think it was just really kind of interesting kind of your observations of certain games. Like, I mean, I didn't really get them back a few years back, but now I kind of do, because like your Watch Dogs video, which was I thought was a pretty good video. I would like you to make more of those because I kind of like this.
Did I review Watch Dogs, or did I think I might have recorded like an off-cuff rant about it and then stitch it together very poorly. And I remember that I'm not sure exactly what the context of it was, but unfortunately I recorded my microphone audio while I was recording video footage and tried to actually live commentate it, but the quality was just abysmal. I think I kept one clip of that at the very end. So yeah, I did mention Watch Dogs, but I should have actually made a full video about it, because I think there was some good material about a game that irredeemably dog shit.
Hey, I see what you did there. Anyway,
I didn't do nothing. You can't prove that I did.
Okay, so, alright, one of the things, I come from, though, is that, like, you kind of, Ubisoft, because I remember watching through some of your older videos, it's kind of funny how your, hatred for Ubisoft kind of builds gradually, from Pariah, Cold Fear, Watch Dogs. I kind of love it, you know? It's kind of this, yeah.
They're the closest thing to a bad guy in my YouTube show other than myself. I'm the principal villain, and I have an explanation recorded that I keep meaning to upload as a new intro video, but I'm not the good guy in any of my YouTube videos, but it's not immediately obvious if that's the case. I don't know. I think a lot of people are more than willing to take YouTube stuff way too seriously, and then that results in them thinking that despite the fact that this 45-minute diatribe about Half-Life 2 could not have just sprang off the top of somebody's head, they still think it's the extemporaneous, the actual live thoughts of another human being. And I don't know, I mean, I'm flattered that somebody could actually think that I would be that funny and that well written without a script. But yeah, no, it's all scripted. Of course it's all scripted. Who would think it's not scripted?
Oh, I mean, people can be pretty stupid. Like, remember that Serious Sam? Bro, you're playing the remaster. So you never know, man. But I mean, like, I think I want to, like, because I want to be honest here, like, directly honest, because I think you need to hear this, or more people need to hear this at least. I have to say that you're probably one of the better YouTube channels I've come across, and I've been on YouTube for a pretty reasonably long amount of time, not channel that wise, but watching game reviews and whatnot. But what I generally like about your content a lot is that it kind of makes me want to play the games you're talking about, instead of going, oh, that's a decent game, moving on. And it makes a huge impact, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's something that I find kind of interesting too, and one of the reasons that I try not to do, like, the Pariah video, that I realize about those earlier videos, that at the very end of the video, basically, if I recommended it, maybe somebody would want to play the game, but if I spent 30 minutes telling you every last stupid detail about Pariah and then say this game's not that good, no one's going to play Pariah, and then, it's harder to talk to people about games like Pariah when they've never played them. And also the thing that always frustrates me is somebody will say, Stalker's not that good, right? Because I saw that Yahtzee video about Clear Sky, and he didn't really like it very much, so therefore Stalker's not that good. And I'm like, oh, you should actually played it. And then I realize, if I am just eviscerating a game, just like completely laying every last second of it bare, who's ever going to need to play it after that? So yeah, in a way, it's kind of like Let's Plays. Like, if you actually watch a Let's Play, why ever play the game? You've got 90% of the experience of most modern games just from watching the intro cinematic and 10 minutes of gameplay.
I know you talked about it a bit you mentioned it briefly in Facebook last year, but you mentioned Undertale. And the funny thing about Undertale is that the majority of people that quote-unquote experienced or witnessed Undertale wasn't through playing, but by watching someone else play it. Like, I think it was like they did the poll by it, and it was basically 50 to 60% of people who actually went through Undertale. They basically did it through watching a Let's Player do it. And I think it's an issue with at least not all games, but just quite a few of them, is that people will just watch a Let's Play of them, and that's kind of enough. I don't really agree. I wouldn't ever call off. I'd imagine that experiencing a game requires you to actually sit down and play through the damn thing, but for some, it's basically that's their gaming experience, just watching someone else.
Yeah, there's definitely a couple classes of game. One of the kind, like Portal 2. I would say like a failed game is one that you, or an example of a failed game is one that you can just watch and then feel like you've enjoyed it. So Portal, Portal and Portal 2, the script in Portal 2, I thought was fucking hilarious. Like really well written, really well acted. But, you know, I kind of didn't really enjoy the puzzles enough for me to want to play it. It kind of made me think, you know what, if I could just watch a Let's Play and skip through all the puzzle shit just to enjoy the fun story and the hilarious dialogue, I would do that and not have to play Portal 2, because I'm just not a big fan of puzzle games. It just always seems kind of, you know, kind of congratulatory, like you solved your way through an obviously solvable situation.
Yeah, there's no real...
There's not a lot of gameplay there. And once you've seen it, you know the solutions, and the only thing the game has to offer from a gameplay standpoint is the solutions. Whereas, I guess if you watched a Let's Play of, you know, somebody playing a couple matches of StarCraft or, you know, a competitive game, the joy in those games is the mechanics of the game and experiencing the mechanics. So there are a lot of games that are just completely about the story and the writing, which you can experience via Let's Play. And then there are other games that I would call them like Let's Play bait, you know, like Goat Simulator. Yeah. I don't think a lot of people actually bought Goat Simulator. I think a lot of Let's Players bought Goat Simulator and then were like, what is this? Oh my god. And you're like, what did you fucking expect from Goat Simulator? I mean, don't buy Goat Simulator and then act surprised. You know, don't buy Big Rigs Over the Road Racing and then act appalled that it's a garbage game.
See, this is what... Yeah.
Of course it's not the worst game of all time, because nobody ever actually fucking bought it.
So that's the funny thing about... That's a good point, though, because a lot of people say, worst game of all time. Issue is that a worst game... Like, yeah, you can find a billion different awful games, which are like the bottom of the barrel dreck. And you've already covered a few of them. Like, I mean, for a lot of people, we'll cover... what was it? US Most Wanted or something? Yeah, that's right, the title. Mm-hmm. Like, a lot of people would play that and just say, worst fucking game. And if you just look at reviews of the game, it's like, you know, it's very low on, you know, Metacritic average. But, you know, your review of it, you didn't really say it was a terrible game. You kind of went through it objectively, and you kind of analysed there was actually quite a lot of good, a lot of bad, but definitely a lot of good that actually made it a somewhat interesting product, at least. And that was kind of cool. But for a lot of people, and you can just type this on YouTube, worst game of all time, it's just basically Let's Play bait, you know, basically, you know, kind of clickbait perhaps, but it's essentially, that's why I didn't really understand your point of view for a while about Watch Dogs being the worst game of all time. And, I mean, I don't know if you stand by that, like, as a literal statement, or you mean that more, figuratively. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I truly believe that. So in that matter, it's a literal statement. But, you know, I think when most people think of worst game of all time, they're looking for those worst games lists to recognize games on there. Like, they already know what the worst games of all time are in their head, and they just want to see a list that confirms that. And then they're like, oh yeah, I knew that one. You know, and so that's why almost all of them, you know, worst games of all time, worst movies of all time, all it is just the Wikipedia page for like five biggest cinema flops or 5 most failed games. So of course everybody's like, worst game of all time, it's Daikatana, bro. And you're like, well, have you actually played Daikatana? Because that game's not that bad. I mean, compared to the hype, yeah, it's nothing could live up to the hype. Although John Romero, you know, if somewhere out in the universe you're listening, you are a prince among men, you are a god, sir. I look forward to playing whatever weird game you're working on right now.
But I mean, like, yeah, I mean, I kind of see what you're getting at, because at least my understanding of it, then at least, was that games like Watch Dogs kind of set a shitty precedent for future games, and you can kind of get that a bit more now, like kind of semi-open world games, but they're kind of very faux in the kind of freedom you have. And like, cause my because of your video, because I got an older brother who's kind of like, he also you know, we differ extremely differently on game choices, but he really got into Stalker because of you, at least with Call Appropriate. He Call of Pripyat? Yeah, Call of Pripyat. Loves that game. The
one that
yeah,
works.
basically. And he also really likes Crackdown, because he didn't know much about the game until you broke down how it was a non-linear open world sandbox. And you're completely correct about that. It's a really different sandbox compared to basically every other that has come out in recent memory. You really do get the absolute freedom that you just don't get in any other game. It's a great game.
I really wish that they would make more games like Crackdown, just because when they say open world in that game, they actually do mean it, because you can just be like, I'm going to go take on the main boss, and you'll get your ass kicked, but it's not like you have to unlock anything, you're basically... And that is sort of the problem, I think, is most people want more direction than that. They don't want to have to put in that much effort into their leisure time. But yeah, most games aren't going to just say, this is the entire world, nothing will change about it, unless you do it. What you see is what you get. You start off in the final form of Crackdown's game world. I mean, give or take. I can't remember if you actually have to, flush out some of the bosses by beating underbosses or something. It's been a long time since I played it. But compared to, the modern style of game that I've just started calling open world map control, for lack of a better term, the thing that bothered me so much about Watch Dogs wasn't the technical problems or just the general lack of anything interesting to do, but it was the fact that it's the same game that Ubisoft won't stop making. The Far Cry games, Far Cry 3 and Far Cry 4, Blood Dragon, Primal, they are all that same type of game. Same with Assassin's Creed. You go to a new area, you find a high point, you climb it to reveal the nearby map, then you do some super easy stealth. The stealth's all super easy because it takes 20 seconds for somebody to spot you. You have these little bars that pulse, grow, and shrink as people see you and don't see you. Everything's on the mini-map. You can mark and track targets through walls. I mean, I'm not sure. It seems like Chaos Theory. Splinter Cell games were stealth games, and they were totally playable. It wasn't impossible just because you didn't have the ability to mark and track and you didn't have a little mini-map. But somewhere along the line, smart stealth encounters got completely done away with because it was so much easier just to give you ridiculous levels of tools. So whereas, an old school stealth game would give you a situation where you can actually take the guards out one by one without being spotted, now the way they do it is they just give you a stupidly generous, timer so that you are technically spotted a bunch of times. But, if the guard sees 5 seconds worth of you cutting a throat and dragging a body, they're like, maybe I should check that out. Maybe I shouldn't. I guess I'll just stand here.
Because, I've played through a bit of Thief, and it was basically, yeah, you're right, because, the stealth there is a lot more dynamic. It's a lot more interesting, creative. The level design is more rich, because actually it's structured to be a stealth game instead of being a stealth game and an action game and a driving game and etc, etc. And I think that's an issue with a lot of, at least, quote-unquote stealth games, is that they allow you to play it as a typical third-person or first-person action game. So why tool the stealth to be, challenging when you can just gun your way through to victory and still reach the right conclusion? At least that's my kind of sentiment to it. I know you really liked Metal Gear Solid 5. So would you say the stealth there was watered down, or is it is still functional?
Oh yeah, I mean that was definitely that same style of open world map control, easy stealth game. But I didn't really like it for the stealth. I've never liked Metal Gear Solid games for the stealth. The reason that I like Metal Gear Solid games is because in Metal Gear Solid 2, you can teach the parrot to sound the alarm, he's here, or some ridiculous thing like that. If you shoot enough guards and get into enough fights in a room with a parrot, over time the parrot learns to say things. It's just stupid creative bullshit like that in Metal Gear Solid games that's awesome. The stealth's never been good. It's probably, people hate that, but whatever. The stealth has never been good. The action has been even worse historically. So Metal Gear Solid 4 plays as a pretty decent shooter. Metal Gear Solid 5, the stealth's not great, the shooting's not great, but it is the closest thing to a Mercenaries 2 that we're ever going to get. Seeing as, Mercenaries Actual 2 was not a very good game. But, that scenario that I described in the year-end video of seeing an enemy base and being like, I'm going to assault this with all my cool shit. Like, I'm going to attack it with my mech, or I'm going to snipe guys, or I'm going to, drop in on a helicopter. It's playing on a macro sense exactly like Red Faction Guerrilla or Far Cry 3. The difference is that they're like, okay, we know what we're doing, and they're going to give you a lot more fun tools. So, unlike Far Cry 3, unlike Red Faction Guerrilla, they're going to be like, fine, you can call in artillery bursts, you can kidnap soldiers and have them fight for you. I mean, I don't think it's a superb game or anything, but kind of going that extra mile and saying we're just going to really have fun with this open world, something that nobody's done really since Mercenaries.
Because I know you really like Mercenaries 1 a lot.
Yeah.
I played it a shit ton back when it came out. I actually saw ads for it in like comic books and stuff, and I was like, you can just blow the shit out of everyone? It's fucking awesome. And
Well, it blew my mind when that game came out, and I read the review in Official Xbox Magazine, and they said, yeah, this game's pretty good. They gave it like an 8 out of 10 or something. And then, of course, it's a whole different rant, Official Xbox Magazine being full of shit. But that review, and then they gave some horrible game, got Game of the Year. They gave Fable 1 an 8 out of 10 too, and it was just like, Jesus Christ, did you guys even play Mercenaries? Because that game is like the best game on the original Xbox. Maybe tied with Halo.
Oh, bro, what about what was it?
Brute Force, close second.
Force, decent enough game, but let us not forget about Blinks.
Oh.
But I mean, like, yeah.
I get okay. Was there a second game? It was like there was Blinks, the Time Sweeper. Wasn't there like a weird stealth game with like a cat in it on the Xbox?
No, there was. Oh, I've probably got it on my shelf somewhere. Hold on, let me just look at it. No, if there's one thing I'm a sucker for, that's PS2 and Xbox games.
Oh no, are you a furry? Shit. When I agreed to do this podcast, I didn't know you were furry.
No, fuck no.
What was that game? Yeah, I played a demo for that. It probably came out around the same time as Blinks, because the gaming industry, just like the film industry, gets these ideas. Everybody seems to have the same ideas all at once.
Oh wait, no, I do. You're forgetting about PsyOps.
Oh shit, yeah, PsyOps is good, but PsyOps is also multi-platform, whereas I don't know, Mercenaries did not come out on Windows, did it? No. PsyOps did come out on PC, so you might as well play the PC version.
It's kind of a shame. Like, I really would love another Mercenaries-like game, because this is what makes it really bizarre, is that playing through Mercenaries 1, it has all this great dynamic level design that I just adore so much in video games. Like, you can kind of walk to a North Korean base and see them having a skirmish with, say, the Chinese or the Allies, and it feels like a legitimately interesting, unique fight with tanks and soldiers and helicopters and stuff, and it feels like something you can't really replicate anywhere else. And yeah, I did like that, because it's something that you don't see in
I think like Far Cry 2. I really like Far Cry 2, but let's not talk about that. Far Cry 3, it's just you versus the whole map, whereas Mercenaries really is like you are a guy in the middle of the war, and the war is still being fought whether or not you're doing anything. So when you're driving around, you'd have to like drive pell-mell through the middle of this skirmish between the Allies and the North Koreans, and there's just like shit blowing up on either side, and you're like, oh crap, I just gotta get out of here, get to my next objective. And that's something that more people could really learn from, because when I think of other games that have almost been that good, like Red Faction Guerrilla was a really good game, but it's still same thing. The closest you got to those big fights was when you had a couple of guerrillas pick up a pistol and be like, oh, I'm gonna join the revolution, and then to get shot in the face. You really don't see that kind of large scale stuff. And then it's also a big part of it was just that the airstrikes felt appropriately large scale for that sort of environment. So any time I'm playing a game like that, I think this is cool, but like, oh, if only I could have like some mortars or some kind of airstrike thing, it would just really improve the open world setting. The mixed arms, military combined arms rather, kind of setting. So that's something that should really be done.
I mean, like another I did a review about him like a while back, but I really thoroughly enjoy playing through Operation Flashpoint and its expansions, because I mean, again, it kind of has a similar kind of vibe to it that you don't really get, because it has a really strong single player campaign, and that's one of the big pros about it. is that OpFlash, like the sequels like Armor and Armor 2, it's mostly about it's more about small squad based tactics. Basically, it's more maybe not Brothers in Arms. It's more kind of a Ghost Recon-esque kind of vibe where you kind of move in as a squad. But Operation Flashpoint had tanks, helicopters, jets, troops running around, getting blown up, gunned down by Russian guys, and it was really thematic. Like seeing your entire squad in one of the missions get completely annihilated, and then having the commander over the radio yell out, "Hey, we're going to evacuate the island now. Get the fuck out of here now. Come on, let's go." And just watch as everything goes to shit, and you have to basically do like a 5-mile trek through pretty much hostile territory, with no ammunition. It's like extremely thematic, and it's a really bold game design choice, because I know a lot of players would play that and go, "This is boring, this is frustrating, I want to go back to kind of launching an airstrike at someone." Like if COD ever did that, it would be just the worst level, objectively, by so many other people.
Yeah, well, I know when I was a kid, like I used to imagine, like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if a military game was more immersive and had like a sequence where you're actually, you're on patrol and you're just walking around with your guys for a long time. And yeah, when I actually get the chance to play it in OpFlash, yeah, I do use the time lapse keys a lot to speed things up. But yeah, I mean, it's such a cool way that the missions never really stick to the script. That you can go into a mission as like the 10th ranked guy in the squad, like, oh yeah, you're the A gunner, just stand around and try not to get killed. And then 20 minutes later in the mission, it's like, hey, you're the new squad leader, everybody else is dead, take your 3 remaining guys and try to finish the mission. And you're like, oh shit, I was just following orders, I didn't know I was going to be in charge of this mission. I think that's
no, it's awesome. And it even gets better in Resistance, where they just start giving you like a mix of NATO and Warsaw Pact guns. And your squad improves in skills and equipment the more you hold on to them. So you actually kind of build up this, even though they don't really have individual characters, you kind of build up this sense of actually like keeping your guys alive, this Red Dawn kind of feel to it, and it's incredible. I love it.
Yeah, I really liked how their missions have so much bearing on one another, and how you have to actually try to recover weapons and ammunition, in between missions to give you more options for the next mission.
Oh yeah, it's awesome.
Or I think there's a mission where you steal some tanks, and if you manage to get away with all the tanks, then the next mission it's like, yeah, here's all the tanks you got. Whereas if you only get one tank, they're like, yeah, here you go, you got to stop an armored convoy, and oh, you only managed to get away with one tank, so good luck with that, idiot.
That's one of the things about it, is that the only other game that I know kind of gives you the similar vibe, the same kind of... There's only a handful, because that's one of the things I love in a game design, is they're giving you that underdog kind of feel to it, and you kind of get that. You get that in Operation Flashpoint, for the most part, definitely get that in Resistance, but the only other game that I can think of at the top of my head that does that really well is Homeworld. Have you played it?
No, I've never played Homeworld. It's one of those games that really intimidates me. Almost any of those space games, I think, I love space. I love these sorts of complicated simulators, and then I try to play them, and I'm like, I don't have time to learn this right now. I got other shit to do, and I never really gave them the try they deserved.
Oh, no, man. Homeworld, like the original Homeworld, I've played it, man. It's incredible stuff. It is... I would say, I'd probably, on a ranking scale, I probably would say in the top 5 best games you can play. Or at least it's like thematically it's excellent, but also from a tactical like gameplay perspective it's also incredible, because you basically work on battles turn to this game of destroy half the enemy, but also try and not destroy the other half because you want their battleships, and you basically by the end of the game you basically have hijacked an entire fleet of enemy battleships. And it's hard to kind of explain without playing the game, but it basically building up your army. The only way to win in the game is by basically hijacking and commandeering enemy ships. You can't win otherwise. And that makes a huge impact late game, at least. Again, like thematically, you kind of get the sense of progression over time. But no. I mean, I will say though that I was gonna ask you though about your PC collection. Was that how did you get it so goddamn big?
Oh Jesus. So if you've got a job and you don't have any kids, it turns out it's really easy to spend a lot of money on video games. And that's that's more or less the entire story. So of course there's a few games that I used to have that I was able to keep from my youth. But starting in college, I really started to sort of re-buy games that I used to have and had unfortunately lost, because I thought when I was a kid, though this MechWarrior 2 box, I just recycle that. Never going to need that for anything. And then it turns out I'm a crazy person. So it started out, I was like, I'm just going to buy the games that I used to love and just have them because it's kind of a cool thing. And then it became like, oh, I'm also going to buy old games that I never got a chance to play and really wanted to. And then once I started doing this whole YouTube show, all of a sudden it's like, oh, I'm going to buy games that look like they could be really terrible and stupid because it would be so much fun to talk about them and research them and all that. So that's what leads me with games like, hang on a sec, let me go check out my unsorted stack of garbage really quick
go
here.
ahead, please.
Oh, damn. DMZ, North Korea.
Oh, man, that sounds awesome.
Marine Heavy Gunner, Vietnam.
I've got that on my shelf. Slimline.
All right, so I've probably talked about this for like 3 years because I had this idea a long time ago, but I'm just too lazy to get it done. The Vietnam episode. Because it was early to mid 2000s when all of a sudden the seal on Vietnam was broken and every single game developer was like, let's make a Vietnam game, and then as soon as it happened, it was gone again. So, Viet Cong probably, probably the best, relative term, best Vietnam game. Viet Cong's good. Conflict Vietnam is actually surprisingly good. Men of Valor, not good.
Yeah.
What else
I've kind of played. Oh, yeah.
Well, Vietnam Heavy Gunner.
Yeah, I've got. Oh, I mean, Black Ops is technically a Vietnam game.
That's why, honestly, like Black Ops, I was, maybe it's a stupid thing to say, but I freaking love Black Ops, and I really have to respect a lot of what Treyarch does with Call of Duty because they put so much into it that even if the game itself's kind of shitty, just being able to have a mission in the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Black Ops 1, it was like, the setting is so good.
Oh no, I agree.
That I'm willing to forgive bad gameplay. I was just happy to have a decent shooter in Vietnam.
No, I completely agree. I mean, like, I actually, because I do like buying the Call of Duty games. Like, I think they are. I know a lot of people they get a lot of shit on them, but I honestly think the single player campaigns actually can be a lot of fun. The real issue is with Call of Duty, it's just the pricing of the games. It's just awful, and I would say it'd be a much smarter idea on Activision's part to just fucking separate the campaigns for players who just want to buy the single-player experience and say, oh, you want to buy the multiplayer experience? That's separate. Because I know a lot of people, like myself, would be happy paying, like, say, $20, $30 for a new Call of Duty campaign every year. I'd be happy to do that, but I don't want to pay the extra $20, $30 for a shitty multiplayer I'm not going to play. That's my issue.
That's interesting because I almost felt like maybe EA had the right idea because they came out with Medal of Honor and Medal of Honor Warfighter. And those games, obviously just tech demos, kind of a weird situation. Not super good games, but I actually kind of enjoyed the campaign for the first Medal of Honor. Well, the first new Medal of Honor, I guess. It wasn't great by any objective, estimation.
The setting's really cool.
I kind of enjoyed it. Yeah, I kind of enjoyed it, and I thought Battlefield games really don't need any sort of campaign. So ditch the campaign out of the Battlefield game, take that extra time and money, put that into the Medal of Honor games, and have a story-based Medal of Honor series going forward like you used to have, and then have the multiplayer Battlefield component instead of having a bad-ish multiplayer in the Medal of Honor games and a bad-ish single-player in the Battlefield games.
Well, that would have been a good idea, and there is some... I am seeing a bit of it now, slight push for it now, because again, you kind of do... You're starting to see it more with... I think it's kind of an eventual process, because a lot of it now is like you download the single-player component separately to the multiplayer component. So there'll probably be a push eventually, because I realize that it's going to take fucking like 100 gigabytes to install a single-player campaign mission. So fuck it, let's just separate the whole thing. But I'd much rather prefer that to be a good idea. Unfortunately, they basically kill the Medal of Honor series. Because EA's awesome, so good.
It's like you thought Ubisoft was bad. Well, I think Ubisoft is bad. I don't know. EA, like, The Battlefront game, holy shit. I'm willing to spend money on a lot of games that I know aren't going to be that good, but even I was like looking at Battlefront thinking, no way in hell, like there's no game there. What are they trying to pull here?
That was another great this is another telling factor because when I was growing up and stuff, a dev that I really liked a lot, it was Pandemic, because they made
those guys were fucking amazing.
They made Mercenaries, excellent game. They also worked with making the Battlefront games and
Destroy All Humans.
And Saboteur.
Full Spectrum Warrior.
Saboteur. They basically made really both incredibly fun action games that were both like arcadey kind of fun, like Destroy All Humans and Saboteur, but also really fun, realistic kind of games that actually went for a more authentic experience, like Mercenaries and Full Spectrum Warrior, which I actually really think is an underrated gem, because I played Full Spectrum Warrior. It's generally an engaging. It is definitely what you would call a puzzle game tactically, but I really like it because it's like it really.
Yeah, real-time tactics in a setting that you don't normally get. Or the other way to think of it is like, what if somebody made an America's Army game that was actually good?
And it's
Hi-oh! Sorry.
Bro, it's lost on me, Australian here. But but one of the things that I want to kind of because you mentioned about those tactical shooters, Brothers in Arms. Great franchise. I love all the games. I personally think Road to Hell 30 was the best one, mechanically and story-wise. But no, I really think it's a damn shame what they've kind of done with the franchise. Again, another reason to hate Ubisoft. They've got this beautiful franchise here, Battle of Battle of the Bulge, right for the taking. This incredible battle that will be full of violence and carnage and great graphics and story plot lines, and conclude with Baker and Company ending the war and going back home. Like, just one more game. But no, let's just cancel the whole franchise. Let's just make it a mobile game. The third Brothers in Arms game is a mobile tower defense piece of shit. And it's great because I love. This is one of the reasons about the whole companies is that Ubisoft is pretty ghastly because they sit on these franchises that they don't need and they don't use, and they basically let them rot away. That's why I was kind of happy with THQ biting it, because I finally knew that Metro Last Light had a good chance of being a decent game, and it was. I think with THQ's behind it, I think it would have been a piece of shit, honestly.
THQ always shocked me, because when they got on board with like Relic, that's another game studio, kind of like Pandemic. Relic just fucking rules, man. Like they can't make a bad game. Even what the hell was that? It's like the World War II.
Company of Heroes 2.
Company of Heroes, and then what was the other World War II game they made? The Outfit. It was like an early Xbox 360 game. It was kind of Mercenaries. I don't know. I mean, it was kind of a goofy game. Not amazing, but just the fact that Relic put together so many really good playable games. It was like, between them and Pandemic, game studios with a yellow and black squarish logo, awesome, just awesome. And yeah, I don't know, I never played Dawn of War 2, I heard it was pretty good, and I just was like, I'm pretty much done with the whole, franchise, because the first Dawn of War had a bunch of expansions, and then Company of Heroes had a bunch of expansions, and Company of Heroes 2 and a bunch of expansions. And, I'm not really interested in playing more. And that's the other thing, is that there are franchises that I really love that are still ongoing, and people are like, oh, you love this game, how come you haven't played the latest one? I'm like, because I enjoyed it, and I'm done. I'm moving on. Like, I freaking loved the Halo franchise, and after Halo 3 and kind of Halo Reach, I was, I've played more than enough Halo.
Oh, no. Yeah.
And that's not to say that, like, all of a sudden Halo's bad. That's the thing that always really frustrates me to no end, is that people said, like, Halo 1, 2, and 3, people are like, yes, Halo is really good. And then Halo Reach, and now Halo 4 and Halo 5 comes out. Now everybody has decided retroactively that Halo is bad. Yeah. And that all the Halo games are bad just because they've gone on for too long. And I'm like, no, like, I still will say that, the first Assassin's Creed I thought was pretty decent. If they had just ditched the whole frame story, that would have been a really good game. The rest of the Assassin's Creed games, I hate the franchise because there's a whole bunch of the interchangeable Assassin's Creed games.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that nothing about the game series was good.
No, I liked Assassin's Creed 1 when I first played it, because I like the medieval setting. I like I like that sense of actual exploration when it comes to the wildebeest. I mean, it's very artificial, but there is a sense of real satisfaction when you come across Jerusalem for the first time in the game. The game opens up that excellent score. You kind of look over the hill, you see it, and you go, I'm in the Holy Land now. I mean, it doesn't make any sense, mechanically, like, how did I get there? But you're there, and it feels really cool. Then there's also stuff like this, you kind of fight English soldiers, and then you fight, like, more Turkish soldiers, like Seljuk, warriors. And it's awesome. And you also get to fight the Templars, which are like actually little mini bosses in the game world. And it's awesome when you're you're running away from a horde of guards, and then you bump into a Templar knight who just starts hacking away at you. That shit's awesome. They also made the combat actually hard because enemies could kill you quite easily. And that was another big difference too. With the rest of the Assassin's Creed game, you can just kill literally everyone on the map without any issues. It's impossible to fail in the games. You have to be an actual idiot. Oh, no, not offense to anyone, but you have to be an idiot to lose and be bad at Assassin's Creed's combat, or at least as it is now.
Yeah, that's part of what I think is so disappointing about the game. Is it's not that I never liked it; it's that I did like it, and that they never did anything of real value with it. That the setting, like a Crusades era, Middle East, that's such a cool setting. That to play a game in that setting was amazing once, but to play that exact same game in slightly different settings, okay, that's not enough. You have to do something better. And from what I heard, Black Flag was really good because people like the pirate stuff. I was pretty much unwilling to bother with them anymore after that. But yeah, I mean, it's a good setting, kind of like Black Ops, that really carried the first game for me, and wasn't enough to keep me invested in anything else.
I think it's fair enough. I do want to ask you though, because I finally, I know, call me obsessive, but I was like, shit, I saw your review of, not review, but video about Gnome. It's like, hey, this looks pretty good. Now I've got a copy of the big box, now I've got the big box on my shelf here, and I'm like, going, looks pretty goddamn nice. Is it a good game? I mean, no, well, are you going to make a video about it?
Alright, so I'm definitely going to do that, eventually. That's my usual thing. Everybody's always like, are you going to make a video about this? And I'm like, of course I am. I freaking love those games. And they're like, when? And I'm like, I don't know, 2020, 2024? Like, how long is YouTube going to be around? How long before we die in a nuclear holocaust? But, yeah, freaking, okay. Alright, I spoil the review because it's basically written. It's just a matter of me actually producing it, which takes forever. Not to spoil too much, but Gnome is not a great game, I don't think. Like, I've tried really hard to figure out if it's a good game or not, and I don't think it's great. But every single part of me loves Gnome and cannot accept that anybody could not like it. So a coworker of mine is a pretty big PC gamer, and I was like, dude, we've got to play Gnome. I freaking love this game. Check it out. We networked it on I can't remember what it was like. So we networked it on some work computers or something and played it over lunch. And he was like, this game's pretty terrible. And I was like, what are you crazy? Like, what are you out of your freaking mind? It's Gnome. It's awesome. And of course, the great part about Gnome is the campaign. But even still, I was like not sure how he could play it and then say it was bad. And if I did some research about it, and some magazine gave it a Coaster of the Year award. I was like, what are you fucking kidding me? This game is amazing. And I think maybe it's not that good, but when I play the campaign, there's something about the totally new, totally original setting, really surprisingly good characters, great voice acting, and just the authenticity. Like, the characters believe it. Like, it's so real to all of them that it's just an amazingly engrossing story. And then you actually play it, and you're like, okay, it's kind of like Mech Warrior, except I only have 4 weapons, and, the mechs don't handle very well. And, the terrain is completely flat. Like, it's basically a 2-dimensional game because the game engine cannot handle 3D terrain. But at the same time, like, there is that. I think it's got an amazing story, great setting. The gameplay is not super sophisticated, but it's also, I think, very prescient. I think it predicted or invented the style of game that Halo is. Because, it's kind of the opposite version of Halo. It's mostly vehicles with a bit of on-foot stuff. But the whole thing is about, to do anything to progress objectives forward, you have to get out of your mech. And when you're on foot, you can die in an instant. You know, if you get stepped on, which is amazing, the fear of seeing a mech bearing down on you and knowing that if it just grazes you with its foot, you're going to pulverize. But you have to get out of your mech to, you know, like lower bridges, you know, or get inside of a comms building in order to get like an IFF code to fool enemies, or to set a self-destruct mechanism on something. You know, there's so much interesting variability in the on-foot segment. So you can, you know, hop out, you can use your gas rifle to eject the guy out of his mech, shoot him to death, and take his mech. You know, early vehicle hijacking, basically. If your mech gets destroyed, the mission doesn't automatically end, because you could still have that extremely tense, you know, 1 minute shootout where you're trying to hijack another mech. That sort of thing is really cool. And just the kind of the way that it really creates a lot of these puzzle pieces and puts them on the level and says, there's one right way to do this, but you could do it a different way. So you really can, you know, you can almost on any level, you can go into a building, get the IFF code that the enemies are using that day, and then set your own IFF code to that, which makes you appear, you know, basically turns you to a friendly on their radar, gives you some interesting options. So it's not a great game. It's a very inelegant game, but it has enough interesting mechanics, and I think, in retrospect, some interesting, you know, historical provenance that I just freaking love it. I just love everything about it.
Because I'm actually quite intrigued now to play the game, because it sounds like a lot like another franchise of games you've probably... It's a great... I love the franchise, but it's a mixed bag. You probably heard about them. Legacy of Kain.
Mm-hmm.
Ever played any of the games?
I have not. No, was it Dreamcast?
Yeah,
the first game
PS1
was on Dreamcast?
Alright, well, here's what makes the franchise just... Okay, so this is the thing. From a story perspective, an atmosphere perspective, and a narrative character level, it's the best game ever made. The story is amazing, the characters are amazing. The main character and the antagonist are just the perfect duo, because they go from... that's a great thing about it, is that the original game came out in 1996 for PC and PS1, and the PC version of the game is literally impossible to find. I would actually argue it's about as rare as your Marathon Trilogy collection thing. Yeah, a boxed copy of the first Legacy of Kain Blood Omen is basically as rare, because it never got a re-release besides its 1996 release. So again, it's super rare, and it was also like a really early, you know, Windows 95 game. Of course, I have a copy of it, you know, because I saw it for $5, and I was like, yes, I'm traveling, I'm gonna wait a week to order it through a shady online thing. I gave the guy $20, he sent it to me, awesome. But the game's incredible. Like, you play it, and the story about it all, it's just fucking awesome, and it's everything good like that. But no, what's funny about it is that if you play the actual gameplay itself is a shittier version of Diablo. I mean, it came before Diablo, but it's a shittier version of it. The sequel, Soul Reaver, which a lot of people remember and played, it's a great game too. Like, has a great, great plot and all that stuff. It has a great revenge tale. Problem is, the devs ran out of budget, so the combat is awful. The level design is very shockingly poor in the later half of the game. It's objectively a mediocre game, but then the story will keep you going onto the second and then final games, where you want to get a conclusion. The conclusion is so incredibly satisfactory. All the terrible third-person combat you just dealt with, it's worth it, man. It's so worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of the way that I feel about Gnome, and it's got a sequel. This is what just blows my mind, how amazing this is. But it has a sequel, which is Dominion Storm Over Gift 3, which is an RTS game, which was the first game released by Ion Storm, the bad Ion Storm, to try to tide them over. And it was like, we have to earn some money, so let's buy this game, finish it really quick, and sell it. Also, they were obligated to their publisher to provide, X number of games, and by really quickly buying, finishing, and releasing a game, that sort of got them out of their contract sooner. Yep. There's so much shenanigans going on behind it. And the thing is that the guy who made, I think it was Todd Porter, I'm pretty sure. Todd Porter started a company, and before any of the games he ever worked on ever came out, before he'd ever had a finished game, he had a job as one of the founders of Ion Storm. So he started working on Gnome, I think. And then how did it work? I think he started working on Gnome, and he got hired by 7th Level because they liked Gnome, and then 7th Level was going to finish Gnome. And then before Gnome even came out, he had already been picked up, I think, by Ion Storm, or picked up by some other company. So it's this crazy shenanigans where he was basically he was one of the founding members / the guys in charge of Ion Storm when his game started coming out, when Gnome came out, and then when Dominion was in the works. So in some kind of freaky, messed up way, he managed to leverage a career out of the promise of Gnome, which turned out to not be very good, and then Dominion, which turned out to not be very good. But the fact is that, like, you finish Gnome and you get this insanely good trailer, which is almost all pre-rendered. It's fucking brilliant. It has like 4 screenshots worth of gameplay in it. Like, that's it. But it's such a great trailer that I was so stoked to play the game. And it turns out that almost none of those cutscenes are even in the game. It's not a great game. But it's cool that the story got continued, even if it got continued in such a shitty way. And the fact is that after you play Dominion, all of a sudden you realize that Gnome's setting and characters, it's got the 4 primary races. Each race has its own style of building and its own style of each different type of mech. And all of a sudden it's like this game had to be an RTS.
Yeah.
Like, they had to make this into an RTS because the set, everything was perfect. It was just ready for it. And I think, based on the really scattered information I can find, that Gnome originally began life as sort of an RTS. So it's just like such a cool story behind it. Just such a shitty RTS game.
Shame.
It's really bad. But damn, like, the payoff for finishing Gnome is such a great emotional story, and then you get this great trailer that amps you up for Dominion, and then the trick is to never play Dominion, to just leave yourself in that, it's 1999 or 1998 or something. You haven't played Dominion yet. You've loved Gnome, you've seen this amazing trailer, and then you die before anything else can happen to you. Like, that is the perfect life right there.
Would you say, like, so basically, as you would break it down, watching Evangeline and then forgetting about the remake movies?
Yeah, I guess if you watch... Okay, so it's been a long time since I actually watched Ava, and I don't know, I shouldn't say too much, or people will hate me more than they already do, but that show's not very good. It's I freaking love it, and there's some amazing stuff. It's not very good, though. It's just not so good. All right. Anyways, isn't it like the last episode? I think it's the last episode. There's like the scene where they assault. Maybe it's the second to last episode. Spoilers, obviously. I mean, if you haven't freaking seen Ava, then you're never going to see Ava. So just, don't bitch. Yeah, it's 2016, asshole. Anyways, I think it's the second to last episode or the last episode where there's the assault on the compound scene by all those trooper guys, and there's the part where Asuka is in the fight for her life and gets killed or massacred or whatever the hell happens. And what's her name? The purple-haired woman from Ghost in the Shell and Oni.
Misato.
Kusanagi, Kanoko from Oni. Yeah, Kanoko from Oni. She gets killed. Right. So much cool shit. And then if it just ends right there, I think the point is what, he gets in the elevator or something.
Yeah.
It's been so long since I saw it. Okay, if it just ends right there, you just eject the disc and you're done. Amazing. But if you actually finish it, you're like, what the fuck?
No,
what is this shit?
Actually, the funny thing about End of Ava, that's what we talked about. Those scenes we talked about were from End of Ava, the 1997 movie. The great thing about End of Ava was when I first watched it, I fucking hated the movie, man. Like, I really hated the movie. I thought it was like the worst piece of shit I've ever seen. Then I rewatched the series again because I was like, because I remember, you know who Demolition D is?
No, I don't think so.
YouTuber, kind of does anime reviews, but he's good. Basically, he did a good analysis of the series, and it made me think about it differently. Went back and watched the series again, and I walked away kind of going, I think End of Ava is like one of my favorite films. And it's like, I kind of hate myself for saying that, because I know you'll go, what the fuck? No. But if you kind of get in the right mindset, and you kind of think about it a bit, like, tone-wise, it is so radically different from other movies, you can't help but kind of love it, or at least kind of hate it. But either, yeah.
Oh, wait, okay, wait, hang on a second. So the show ends with that episode that's just like a bunch of shitty lines on the screen, right? Okay, that's the thing I fucking hate. End of Ava, much better. Still, if you stop watching it before it totally falls apart at the end, still a little better, I think. But yeah, so okay, that's why. The movie, I actually really like that movie. The show... No, the show is
no. The show. There's some great moments of. No, come on. No.
I'm just
no.
now.
It's cool, bro. No, you're kind of like. I mean, my bro. He's like kind of the same thing. I love the mechs, bro, but Shinji won't shut the fuck up. That sentiment felt by a lot of people. Was that yeah, the show itself. Like, I love the sci-fi, because I don't know about you, but the one thing I really love is sci-fi that actually goes into being kind of like it'd be something that could happen tomorrow kind of things. That's what I love about Ava, is that it's like they kind of break it down so the Avas seem like a possible kind of weapon. Like, there's actually science behind it. It's bullshit, but and it's a little bit just more nonsense, but you can't help but kind of go, yeah, that kind of makes sense. We have to fight giant aliens and stuff. We would have to build these giant robots to combat them. They wouldn't just appear out of the the ground. We'd have to build them over decades of research. And I like that a lot. But yeah, you're correct. On a more objective level, not so good. But I do want to ask you though, because I mean, I hope I'm not taking up too much of your time. Because I mean, if you want to wrap it up,
oh no, I have shit all to do.
Well,
if we stop, then I have to actually work on that Deus Ex video. So let's keep it going.
Okay, actually, I was going to ask you about that. So you're going to be doing a snide remark at you know who?
Yeah.
Oh man.
I'm not sure which you know who you mean, but I think I know one of the two, and I'm at both.
Put it like this: the two YouTubers share the same name. Yep.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Both of those guys. I know you're not. It's the thing. It's like, they say never punch down, but if you punch up, people are like, you're just jealous.
Yeah. That's the great thing about it.
Like, yeah, who wouldn't be jealous? Who wouldn't be jealous of that? That's ridiculous.
I mean, it's
what they're doing is ridiculous. Stay tuned to find out.
It's gonna be so cool. I'm so man. I'm looking forward to it because I mean, again, I follow your Facebook, bro. I follow it, and I go, yep, he doesn't like it. Yep. His criticisms hold up still. It's a year of progress, year of Patreon, and I mean not for you, but the other guy, yeah. And it's like the quality hasn't actually changed that much, just the videos are more frequent. Anyway, oh man, it's gonna be.
But yeah, it's interesting. Okay, so an interesting parallel. Speaking of Deus Ex and speaking of whiny Shinji from Ava, I'm not sure how come nobody figured out that people don't like mopey, stupid protagonists. Like, that's the biggest miss for me, and this is something that I don't want to spoil the video that I'm currently working on, but like the thing that blows me away about Invisible War is that the characters, just like in the first Deus Ex, like the characters don't really have a lot of emotional reaction to what's going on. They're just sort of like, they are you. Whereas in Human Revolution and Mankind Divided, Adam Jensen's such a bitch. It's like, yeah, you were about to get utterly destroyed and you were going to die. Now, instead of being dead, you're an awesome cyborg. And he's like, this sucks. I didn't want to be an awesome cyborg. I would rather be dead. And you're like, oh, shut the fuck up.
I mean,
In Invisible War, the characters, I mean, there's a lot of valid complaints about Invisible War. I still think it's an amazing game. The characters are like, yeah, we wanted to be part of this exclusive academy to become biomodified, and we worked really hard to get here. So, like, we're living life and we're loving it. Like, all, the main character, whether you play as male or female Adam, or Alex, Alex D, and also the other Tarsus recruits in that game, they're all like, they're just into
it.
They're proactive. They're doing shit, and they're where they want to be, and they're making decisions that they want to make. Whereas Adam Jensen is just like, everything he's put upon. People are like, can you do this for me? And he's like, oh, do I have to?
Yeah.
He just hates everything. Like, and he's an asshole to his boss. Like, I don't understand that, and I'll talk about this more in the video, but both games try to make Seraph into a bad guy, and I just can't see it in the context of what the story is. And I feel like it's because there were changes, like the trailer, the early trailers for Human Revolution have nothing to do with the actual game that came out. Like they set up so many plot points that don't happen, but they keep like saying that, like, oh, Seraph, I can't trust him. He doesn't have your best interest at heart. And you're like, what? He creates awesome, cool ass robot shit, and he saved Jensen's life. So now he's a villain. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's not particularly well told. That could just be my own implicit bias that I think robot parts in space is awesome, and that I think that the Templars and the Order and whoever the hell they were in the first Deus Ex game.
The Majestic 12 guys. They were that's a couple of things. Like there was some. You watch Game Dungeon by any chance?
No, I don't think so.
It's helmed by Ross, the guy that did Freeman's Mind. He actually does it. He did a breakdown of all the Deus Ex.
Oh, okay. I have tried to watch a few of his videos. Never really drew me in.
Some of them are kind of interesting because he makes a pretty good point with Deus Ex, and I have to agree with him strongly on this. Was that he talks about how like modern gaming would pretty much stop Deus Ex. The way Deus Ex was made would be impossible to happen in modern gaming. Not necessarily, not like you couldn't have the open freedom. No. Smuggler, the character? Yeah, okay, in Deus Ex, you have this, just this completely separate side plot of you going and helping smuggle his friend, right? But what's interesting about it, he talks about how, what's stopping that from being cut content and being DLC? Because that's what they do in Human Revolution. You go and save Tong, and that's just a cut content from the main game. But in Deus Ex, the smuggler side quest, guy completely separate from the main game, you can never talk to him at all, basically, and yet he's still this side quest that goes on for about an hour or so. It's right there for the player to actually get into, and I think it's
And it's interesting that side quest is, from a story standpoint, super important because it gives you like an early kind of sneak peek into what's going on, and I love shit like that. I can't think of an example. I know there's been plenty of games where you can get sort of that insider view, from optional content. But the thing that I find even worse about DLC, like there's two possibilities for DLC, and both of them I think are equally bad. One is where they cut out something from the game, like in Human Revolution, where it's like, oh, you were asleep on the boat for 9 months. What the hell happened? Whatever the hell it was. And you're like, I guess some DLC happened. We'll find out in a couple weeks when it's finished. And then the other version is like Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, where the DLC is this horrible garbage tacked on that you go transport to a totally different place. It's like a totally different universe. It's usually hallucinatory or imaginative, or it's a simulation, or some bullshit, some other town, and you fart around there for a while, and then you come back and nothing has changed about the game at all. Same with Mass Effect. Like the DLC was it like squad mates who don't show up in the cutscenes and nobody talks to them because they're just bolted on. That kind of thing. Like that's the really bad kind of DLC. But the alternative is, if it's actually important DLC, then they're just ripping you off.
That's the thing. The funny thing is about it that there are moments of Mass Effect. Mass Effect does have a couple of really good DLC points. I'd probably say like there's like two of them that actually are good. One is when you get to recruit a Prothean, who's like one of the ancient race basically. And that's cool because you basically get to actually go, oh wait, the Protheans, this is his responses to all these other characters, and is his reaction to all these other people in the world. And it's quite interesting, like it's something you don't actually need, but it's something that you've been wondering about through the entire game. As there's like some other, there are some other, I don't know if it was DLC, but it's like there's actually is a side quest in the game where you basically meet these godlike Cthulhu aliens at the bottom of the ocean in Mass Effect 3, and this little side quest is like completely missable. But if you actually explore it, you go, oh wait, these are the guys who've kind of predicted everything from the get-go since the dawn of the universe. Okay, so these guys are basically gods, and they help you because they're basically being wiped out by their own creations, and it's awesome. It's fantastic stuff. That DLC, I understand. I see that it's good because it's basically. I don't think it's DLC. Like part of it is DLC. I'm not 100% sure, but it's good shit because again, it gives you clarification into the world a bit more. But no, yeah, you're correct. It was a lot of DLC is like a serious issue with at least Bethesda, that's what we call it, Bethesda DLC, where it's essentially
Oh,
no,
God.
that's the category really. It's Bethesda DLC where the entire plot is self-contained, separate shit that basically is what you're talking about. Like, okay, we have a
Well, okay,
yeah.
there's two more kinds of Bethesda DLC that I have like a prepared rant to go into. But once you get the collector's edition or the Game of the Year edition or whatever the hell it is of your Bethesda game, you install it, you boot up. As soon as your character steps foot out of the starting dungeon or the starting area, all of a sudden he overhears like 20 rumors for all the shit that they tacked onto the game after release. Where he's all of a sudden he's like standing there at the exit to the sewer, and all of a sudden he says, "I overheard someone talking about a door in Nibbin Bay. I overheard someone talking about a wizard's tower up in the mountains. I overheard someone talking about a fighters guild up in the mountains. Oh, I overheard someone."
Yeah.
You're like, "Holy shit, this is bad." But the other flip side to that is the DLC where it's like, you've a long lost relative died and left you his house. And you're like, oh, free house. I just start the game with a free house full of shit.
There's also
like,
other great...
there's nothing to it.
It's also other great stuff. But also
God.
like Fallout New Vegas is going to be some of the most abhorrent DLC I've encountered, because if you have it on, you start the game immediately with a grenade launcher and a shit ton of good armor and weapons.
You start with it's because there's multiple packs
Yeah.
that were supposed to be pre-order packs depending on where you bought it, but then if you buy the Game of the Year edition, it gives you every single pack. So you start with 6 armors and 6 primary guns and 6 melee weapons and a bunch of random shit, and it's sort of like, pick your favorite starter pack and honor system, just throw the rest away. Or sell it and make a ton of money right off the bat. Really cheesy garbage.
Also, did you watch H-Bomber's because there's a guy on the internet, on the YouTubes, who makes pretty good game videos called H-Bomber Guy. I don't like he makes very cringe, depends on your political compass, very cringy political videos. But he did a video, you might have seen it, why Fallout 3 is garbage. Fallout 3 is garbage, and here's why. And he goes on for an hour and a half about how terrible Fallout 3 is, and he basically, because I know you mentioned how good New Vegas was, and I was kind of a little bit slightly unconvinced. I was like, nah, I didn't really get it. It didn't click with me. Then I watched the guy's video, and I was like, oh wait, no, New Vegas is actually so much better than Fallout 3. It's, combat, story, mechanics, in all these great ways. And then you go, oh wait, it actually feels like a generally amazing game. And then I play New Vegas a bit more, get to the point where you talk to Marcus, and you're like, oh, holy fuck, this guy, this huge history going back to Fallout 2. I finally get to meet him again. And it's like, oh yeah, I'm trying to settle down a bit. Yeah, I kind of did some sheriff shit in Broken Hills. So, and it's great. It's a great closure to the story. To the story of this arc that's been going on for about, decades of time in the universe. Is that, this character's kind of pre-existed through the entire universe, Fallout, and that's fantastic. And you don't get that ever in. I don't think you get that in Fallout 4 or Fallout 3. This kind of, except for the mutant, the ghoul, the guy that fucking turns into a tree. But that's kind of cheesy bullshit.
Oh yeah, that guy. Yeah, it's okay. So I really love New Vegas. Fallout 3 was okay at the time, and I don't think I really would ever want to play it again. Whereas New Vegas is like Morrowind. It's a game that I keep thinking you know what? I should do a such and such run of New Vegas. I should go be a melee potions guy or some bullshit like that where I come up with these crazy flights of fancy. But New Vegas, Alpha Protocol, other Obsidian games, I really appreciate when somebody tries something that's mechanically complicated and very ambitious, and maybe it turns out to not be so great. Technically it's all garbage. And I talk to so many people, and I think it's a sort of a valid viewpoint. People who say, New Vegas is terrible because it shipped with some bugs. They could, Obsidian can't even make a game right. Well, I guess so. I guess that's a valid complaint that the games aren't as polished, but if you want to play New Vegas, nobody else makes New Vegas. It is a totally singular game. You can get a lot of polished games from various places, but you cannot find another Alpha Protocol anywhere. So buggy, yes, but still the best Alpha Protocol game because it's just so singular. And I really appreciate any time someone tries to push that envelope, even if they do maybe fail, which is why, US Most Wanted, it's got some mechanics in it that make me feel wow, this is insane. How cool is this? Yeah, the game's a disaster. but nobody else lets you, switch from 40 millimeter grenade to a buckshot grenade out of your little M79 launcher, and nobody else would have the animation where your guy saves the unfired shell and puts it in his pocket. It's just cool little things like that I think make it worth playing, even if it's objectively, technically not super. So I would much rather play Obsidian's really heartfelt kind of broken Fallout game over Bethesda's nice, slick, smooth, kind of soulless Fallout game any day.
Again, Bethesda's become more corporate over the years. Because again, I'm probably one of the few people that kind of actually enjoyed Oblivion, but on that kind of hipster way. Like, oh man, Oblivion was great because I didn't like Skyrim.
Oh, I fucking love Oblivion.
I actually like
Skyrim.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That was the second video of yours I watched. Just Skyrim, why Skyrim isn't good, and it was funny because you made some good points. Like, you can't attack off your mount, and then they patched that in. Yep. Yeah, they added that in through DLC. Oh, was that correct? Yeah, or at least I think they did. They did add that in as DLC.
Pretty haphazard, though.
Yep, and you called it, bro.
I mean, basically somebody modded it in. Yeah, it's kind of funny that people always say, like, wow, you're too critical, you're too mean in your Half-Life video and your Serious Sam video, and I'm like, dude, I tried not being mean. People don't give a shit.
Yeah, people.
Like I got as many death threats for the Skyrim, I don't think Skyrim's quite as good as Oblivion video as I did with the Serious Sam is the worst game of all time, and the people who play it are a bunch of fucking retards.
No, I mean,
like those generate the same reaction. So why try to be nice?
I honestly would say I absolutely, if you made more, because I'm kind of sorry for being slack here, but if you made more of those kind of rant kind of breakdown videos on well received, like, for example, if you did more of those kind of videos, those kind of ranting kind of videos on the more popular games, but no one really criticizes them until later on, I would of course, bro, I'll be throwing all my cash at you right now. But I mean, I have to really be on. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I've that's sort of where I'm trying to push myself in the direction of is, the stuff that I really enjoy making is those teardown videos, and so doesn't seem like there's a lot of reason for me to make, once I finish, the MechWarrior retrospective, doesn't seem like there's a lot of reason for me to say, oh, hey, look, here's some oldish game, let's talk about it for a few minutes, oh, it's interesting, cool, okay, whatever. I think people do that better than I do, and they have it totally covered. So what I'd like to do is try to start making Budget Barrel again, if I'm ever not lazy enough, and do a lot more of those big tear down, kind of rant videos, just from the weird perspective that I have.
Oh no.
And I don't know exactly where my perspective lands, but yeah, it's I've got one for let me pull it up real quick here. I'd like to do one about Black Mesa Source just to keep the Half-Life hate train rolling.
What's your thoughts on Black Mesa? Because you really liked it.
Really liked it, but unfaithful remake.
Yeah, cause I don't know if you watch his stuff. I know he watches you. He likes your work. But GG Man Lives. He's another Australian guy. Well, I've done another live stream. Not live stream, but I had to talk with him before. But no, he liked Black Mesa. Like, he says, yeah, it's mechanically competent, but it's an unfaithful remake because basically they tweak the combat and the encounter rate so that it plays more like a modern shooter than an actual Half-Life game where combat was more infrequent bursts. And you play Half-Life now, that's an issue of Black Mesa, is that it's a lot of combat, but the combat isn't good because it's running on Source. And Source's combat, like Source's engine, is I have very weird feelings for it because it can be amazing, like Titanfall 2 looks great, it's on Source. Dark Messiah, Might and Magic Dark Messiah, great game, on Source, looks good, plays good. But with Black,
I got some interesting references to that in the Deus Ex video.
That's
actually
awesome, man. Because I haven't played as much. I mean, maybe you've played it more than me, but I quite like Dark Messiah. I think it's pretty cool. It's kind of like one of those kind of more. Oh, that is a first-person game that exists where it actually mixes melee combat, stealth in this kind of interesting but flawed way. Again, it's kind of like you would never see a melee-based. Actually, well, technically, you kind of got that in Shadow of Mordor, but anyway. But no, yeah, Black Mesa, a weird game. keeps getting patched, probably not going to get finished, still in early access. Early access is still garbage. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting the impression from Steam now. Shoot out as many games as possible, don't ever actually finish them.
Yeah, Steam's kind of freaking me out. That whole paradigm is really scaring the hell out of me. But, Black Mesa Source, I see it as unfaithful for a lot of reasons. But the main one is that to me, it's trying to be a prequel to Half-Life 2 more than it is trying to be a remake of Half-Life 1. And so all the characterization, the kind of semi-light comedy tone, and changes to not quite to the plot so much, but changes to the characters, like throwing, known characters in there. And if I had $1 for every time somebody tried to quote the opening of Black Mesa Source as the opening of Half-Life to me, they'd be like, yeah, Eli and, what the hell is his name? Kleiner, Dr. Kleiner are in the game. They're right at the beginning when you come out of the room. And I'm like, are you talking about Black Mesa Source? Are you talking about Half-Life, motherfucker? Because that's a change they made in Black Mesa Source for it to fit the retcons of Half-Life 2. So, yeah, I think it's super well made. Like, the music is fucking killer stuff, and great graphics, great sound effects,
and a good
great
price
levels.
Too, considering it, $20 for a game that's gonna keep it's adding stuff to it, and it is a single player experience.
Yeah,
I respect that.
And given how bad Half-Life Source was, like,
that game was fucked.
The thing is that, everybody wants to know, or at least they did for a while, like, how do I get the old HD texture packs to work with Half-Life Source? And people were like, well, basically you've got to compile it yourself and make your own homebrew mod, because that's the only way to make it happen. Black Mesa Source really does fill that niche for me, because I really love to play the original Half-Life trilogy using the Super Definition pack, which is somebody extracted the models from the PS2 version and applied them as a mod. Basically, you can unpack them into the game directory, and you can play Half-Life with guys that have, blinkable eyelids, awesome. And pointable fingers. Really cool way to play those games. But yeah, I mean, like, if you really want to play, I hate HD remakes anyways, but if you really want to play Half-Life, you got to play Half-Life. You can't play Black Mesa and think you're playing Half-Life, because as good as it is, it's not Half-Life.
Again, like G-Man, the guy I mentioned, he did a review of it. He pointed out how, like, in Black Mesa, in Half-Life 1, there's a fight with a helicopter. You fight the helicopter, you just fight it, and then you could also avoid it too. In Black Mesa, it's like, no, it's a boss fight. It's a boss fight, and it's the same issue. And you actually, and I really liked your Half-Life 2 video. Like, I think it's probably your best video, honestly, because it's like, I've had arguments with people who are big fans of Half-Life, and they point out these inconsistencies. Like, you realize the story doesn't make any sense. You realize they're going to drop all the plot points. You realize that, like, a lot of the games, like, it doesn't handle very well. And, like, I point out how, like, big sections of the game aren't very fun. They're basically just, again, a physics wank. And they actually do have to take pause to that. Like, they go like, oh, well, no, it's going to be resolved in Half-Life 3. Then I go, well, Half-Life 3 hasn't come out. It's been 10 years. The plot line hasn't been... If you break it down, like, there's actually something funny about it. Half-Life Episode 2 has probably one of the worst endings in a franchise. Because it's basically just leaves it a cliffhanger. This character's in danger. This character has just died. Mysteries abound. G-Man is a thing that kind of exists. And it's all fucking dropped. And that's the great thing you pointed out, was basically, wait, hold on. G-Man's doing something that helps you, but also contradicts the Combine, but he kind of helps the humans, but he's helping the Combine? Again, it's...
Yeah, they changed what the G-Man does between scenes. They can't even remember what he does. They're like, oh wait, whose side is he on? I don't even think Valve ever knew, or if they did, they forgot. But the thing is that, that big cliffhanger ending, that only works if it's the season finale of fucking X-Files, and they're like, we'll be back in 6 months with the next season.
And they were kind of trying to do that.
That's about as long as you can wait.
And they were going to try and do that with episode 3.
And that's, they promised, they said, I remember when episode 1 came out, they were like, this is it. This is Half-Life 3 is going to be episode 1, 2, 3.
That would have actually been pretty cool.
And, oh, jeez, what a disaster. Yeah, like, it sounded cool. The whole Steam thing, it was like, man, the good old days.
I mean...
Back when, really thought Steam was going to be the way they would push out the rest of Half-Life 2.
That could have been like but I mean, it could have been this great game. Like, I mean, it really could have. Like, when you think about it, Half-Life 1 would have... Like, I mean, I know there's a lot of issues with the franchise, but if they finished it up like, okay, episode 1, 2, and 3 were basically this one giant journey, cross country basically, involving all this different gameplay mechanics. It could have been a decent game. Like it could have been this very unique trilogy third game to the franchise.
Yeah, it could have been like a super epic road trip kind of trilogy. Like that, I mean, people think I hate Half-Life 2. I really like Half-Life 2, and I think that could have been an awesome concluding trilogy.
And again, that's the thing about it. It's like the last episode with you kind of resolving the plot lines a bit, or what I would have much preferred. They just say, okay, we end the Half-Life series here, and then we kind of sprout our own different franchise. Like, it could have been something completely opposite to Half-Life. Like, I mean, I'm talking more like, kind of a spin-off kind of franchise thing. Similar, kind of like Portal, where it shares elements in kind of style and tone and gameplay, like similar kind of well-wrought characters, you journey with them a bit, silent protagonist, that kind of thing, but actually kind of build on it a bit more and have an actual conclusion with that. It could have been something really good, but no, not really. The franchise is basically this giant shit show of promises and nothing being delivered, and it's just a real disappointment. And it's a real failing on Valve's part, but this is the thing. Valve's not a developer; they're a publisher now. Like they're not. What's the point of them to develop another game? It'll more than likely it will cost them more to make the game than actually just publishing. It'll cost them more to make the game than they'll actually make out of it. So fuck it, why not?
Yeah, they'll never make as much money on Half-Life 3 as they will on TF2.
Yeah, exactly.
Because the overhead's just not there.
That's the thing, that people aren't interested in a single-player campaign as much. There is a push for it, and that's one of the reasons why I respect Wolfenstein games, is that they focus primarily on a good single-player campaign throughout the franchise, and this actually it's inconsistent, sure, but it's actually like, they did take a risk, and they're still keeping up with it, which is one of the reasons why I actually do like New Order, because, again, it's kind of like, it's a lot of issues similar to Half-Life 2, but I like the game more or less. I still think it's a decent game. Then again, yeah.
Yeah. I really, I need to get around to playing those. I have way too many games on my to-play list, but definitely I need to play Wolfenstein, because...
What?
Yeah, same as you said. I appreciate that someone's still trying to make a really exciting single-player game, and it seemed like it would be a fad in the mid-2000s when all of a sudden every single Xbox game had a live component for no reason. You're like, it's just some stupid fad because people are all excited about Xbox Live. And here we are, it's 2016, and nobody gave up on that.
It's going to be kind of interesting. Like, that's one of the things I kind of, that's, again, I don't know about you, but I mean, like, my favorite generation of consoles, like my favorite gaming generation, because I mean, again, I'm not really necessarily a console pleb, but I do like a lot of console games. My favorite generation of gaming was the mid to late 90s to the mid to late 2000s. This 10 years encapsulate pretty much everything that was perfect about the industry when it moved from terrible, like basically made the mechanics were too hard to utilize to actually perfecting those mechanics to make them fun. And you make a good point. I remember, I used to try and collect PS1 games. I played them. I realized, wait a second, they're shit games now. They're objectively terrible.
Yeah.
It's really hard to sit down and play a PS1 game and go, this holds up. This is fine. This is good. Yes, the graphics look terrible. Like they are, it's actually impacting on the gameplay. The hit detection is wonk. It's really frustrating because of how they designed it. Like, okay, it's still an arcade game. We don't have enough content to make a 8-hour experience where players can actually die and reload from a checkpoint. No, fuck them. They have a live system, a password system. Who gives a shit? And there's some good games. No one's going to deny that. Like, I like Castlevania Symphony of the Night. I like Metal Gear Solid. But you play Metal Gear Solid 1, play that, play Metal Gear Solid 2. Metal Gear Solid 2 is objectively a better game than Metal Gear Solid 1 tenfold. People bitch about the story, but no, I would say that MGS1, its story is good, it's competent, but then you play MGS2, the gameplay is so well refined, it runs at a smooth frame rate, and the story actually goes in some directions which are actually, it's actually good. You have to adjust to it, but it makes this really meta kind of experience.
Yeah, I love Metal Gear Solid 2, and I always think it's funny because I love following the console wars, And the closest that I get to participating there, I had no console loyalty at all. Like, I didn't really give a shit. But, I always think it's funny that people try to insist that either the consoles are equal when they're not, or that a bad console is obviously better. Like, people trying to defend the Wii U. And it's like, yeah, I hope you enjoyed your Wii U Zelda game. It didn't come out. But, yeah, so the Xbox, such a fucking great console. PlayStation 2, I don't know. I mean, it had its ups and downs. It had a great library. Well, it had a big library. I guess that counts. But the Xbox version of Metal Gear Solid 2, damn, like that's a great version of that game, and it is a great game.
A huge amount of content.
And same with GTA, because GTA was kind of PS2 focused for a while, and then they would release the ports late on Xbox, and they were so much better.
If you don't mind me asking, this is a big question I need to ask. Okay, one of the big issues I have with the GTA games, at least with Vice City, which I love, again, I love the fucking setting, I love the music, love all of that shit, just hate how infuriating the gameplay can be, at least with the shooting mechanics. If the shooting mechanics...
Yeah, the GTA games are kind of not very good.
That's one of the things that I always love to bring up and kind of fuck with people with, is that I point out how, the GTA games aren't that good, because I actually, again, thanks to you, man, I play through GTA 5, play through GTA 4. You're right, GTA 4 is so much of a better game than GTA 5. You really did a good job of just pointing out the flaws of GTA 5 so eloquently. It was excellent, because GTA 5, again, I play on the PC, I play it with some of the mods, but the gameplay is so boring. It's so, I don't know, like how they handle Euphoria.
It's just not there. Yeah, they really stripped out a lot of stuff. It's kind of a back to basics thing, but I don't know. I mean, of course, people want different things out of games, and people will want different things out of GTA games.
But I think for a lot of people, GTA 5 is extremely casual. Like, I'm not trying to say like it's a geography statement, but more like it really is a casual game. Like, it's a game.
And how many copies it sold? Like, it's sold ridiculous amounts. Like, if there's any question that GTA with 5 became the establishment mainstream, like, there you go. It's
I remember back in 2008 and 2013 when GTA 5 and 4 got released, and I remember hearing the radio like, oh man, it's selling fucking lines at EB Games, and I was like, oh shit, EB Games is like our GameStop in Australia. Anyway, so basically, I remember seeing, I was like, oh Jesus, GTA 4 is incredible, like apparently it's excellent. Then GTA 5 comes out and it sells a huge amount. I see a line out of a game store going down a few aisles, because it was in a mall, and I was going down a few aisles in front of other stores, and it was just that they were all there buying GTA 5, and I was like, is the game really that good? And then they re-release it like a bunch of times, people still go out and buy it, not as many, but still buy a shit ton of it, and then I sit down and play it, and I go, okay, so I'm expecting like good gunplay, good driving mechanics, and I play through it all, and I'm going, wait a second, the cops are extremely, absurdly trigger happy, so you basically get gunned down immediately when you're having fun. The shooting is really boring. Like, again, you play GTA 4 after a bit, the gunplay is reduced, like you get a small selection of weapons, which I kind of disliked. It's very gamey in that kind of feel, but the guns feel like actual weapons, the firefights feel like actual firefights with the dynamic cover, with the actual the destruction of kind of environments and the ragdoll physics. But GTA 5, they completely removed that. It's back to static cars. They basically can't be deformed. Enemies just fucking drop dead. There's no real actually interesting kind of body physics, and all the actual cool shit in the game had to be added in through mods. And even then, they broke the fucking modding system by making you have to update your game, which breaks all the mods. So, fuck you, Social Club. Fuck you.
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but it's to my mind, it draws parallels. Halo 1, Halo 2. Halo 1 and GTA 4, neither of those I think was released with any major fanfare. GTA 4, a lot of wind was taken out of GTA 4 sales by Saints Row. And at the time Saints Row came out, it was like, yeah, this is pretty awesome, next gen GTA style game. And then the really sad thing was how good GTA 4 was, and how a lot of people were saying, well, if you want the good GTA game, you play Saints Row.
And that was
and it's kind of shocking to me. Like, yeah, it's a fun, bombastic game. Saints Row 2, probably the high point of the franchise, but GTA 4 was sort of saying, like, we have, this is next-gen hardware. This is next-gen hardware being used to do something completely new, whereas Saints Row was just next-gen hardware used to make a prettier game. Basically like, oh, it's the first HD GTA style game, and it's got some ragdoll in it. Like, that's what all the hardware went to, these minor increases. But GTA 4 is saying, okay, but look at this. What about this physics engine where the body has a sense of balance, where a person's central nervous system is being simulated to the degree where if you push them, they can actually maintain their footing. Where it's just like, that's fascinating to me. I think that's awesome. Whereas GTA 5 was putting their technology into basically just a bigger world, which is nice. And I don't know what else. I mean, technological advancements in GTA 5, they took out a lot of the really interesting mechanics, and they put in some nice new graphical features like deforming sand. I don't know. I really can't think of that many additions other than, the lighting effects, deformable terrain. It's such a disappointment that GTA 4 was an amazing leap forward, and it kind of got rejected because, yes, they did try to desaturate the palette too much. But hey, you know what? All you have to do is go into the menu and find the saturation meter. GTA 4 has the saturation meter set low by default. GTA 5 has it set high by default. You can make one look like the other. All you have to do is change that saturation meter. It's right there waiting for you. So, yeah, and especially doctored screenshots when people take the saturation bar in GTA 4 and they drag it way down, like farther than default, and then they compare it to GTA 5, you're like, yeah, sure, that's a valid comparison, why not?
I mean, I was wondering, though, like, have you got any more of those kind of obscure European games? Or have you kind of, like, don't have any anymore? Because I love them.
Oh, I've got a lot, and I've got a whole lot on my to-buy list. The ones that I really want to get to talking about eventually is Boiling Point. Boiling Point: The Road to Hell, which is an interesting kind of an open world-ish first person-ish game that I've never been able to spend a lot of time with because it's so buggy and it's so impenetrable. Like, the game doesn't really give you any clear indication of what you're supposed to do, and every time I've played it, it's like, okay, I have to get from point A to point B, and I don't have the skills to drive a car, so it won't let me drive a car. So what am I supposed to do? I guess I just run in the direction of the objective, and then I get eaten by an alligator in the jungle. Like, I mean, it's such a bizarre, open-world, jungly, ridiculous game. Totally have to give that a really solid playthrough and talk about it.
Though?
I don't know yet. I cannot really recommend it or not recommend it because I've never really been able to get into it enough to know what the hell is going on. I see what looks like the basis of some good mechanics there, and I really want to get to those mechanics, but the game is seriously, it's like, you don't own a car, so you can't drive a car, you don't have car skills, so you can't even steal a car, and you have to go 6 kilometers to your next objective, and and then you try to swim across the small river and you get eaten by piranhas or something. Like, I'm sure I'm missing something, or I'm just not trying hard enough, but it is a really confusing game.
I mean, I really liked. I mentioned talking about. I did a review of one of the things about it though was like, I mean, I made a review of what was it? Soldiers of Anarchy, which was like a kind of weird mix.
Oh yeah, I have.
Oh, you do? Awesome. Have you played it?
Not a lot. No, I think. Some weird. I buy games based on the weirdest tangential things. I read like a Penny Arcade comic from 1999 or whatever the hell, whenever this game came out, and it was one of those news posts where Tycho, the writer guy for Penny Arcade, mentioned obliquely Soldiers of Anarchy and how impressed he was by the tail light effect, the way the tail lights look on the 3D rendered units, and I was like, oh, that sounds cool. And then I looked at the game, I was like, oh, that looks cool. And then I bought the game, and then I played it for 5 minutes, and yeah, that's it. That's how I came across that game.
Generally, it's a pretty good game. I mean, the issue with it is it's incredibly difficult, and it gets absurdly hard really early on. And the game kind of it's borderline impossible at times, but it is fun. It's fun.
Mm-hmm. Did you play Battlezone 2100?
Battlezone 2100. Let me check it. Wait.
Or Warzone 20? Yeah, Warzone 2100.
20.
It's an RTS game, 3D, kind of early 3D. Might have been part of a series. I really don't know much about it, but I know that when I was a kid, a friend had it for some reason. I don't know where he got it. And then at some point they released the source code for free. But it's one of those early 3D RTS games. It's really worth playing just for the novelty of it, even though it's not super great. And the cool thing about Warzone is that you can build your own units, basically. It's like, I want to take this tank chassis, and I want to put this gun on it, and I want to put it on top of a hover skirt, and that's my unit. That's my tank unit. So you kind of create your own custom units, and it's a cool idea, and it's one of those early 3D RTS games that is so worth playing, but not worth playing very much.
I remember you watching, I remember you playing for your MechWarrior game, which was, I remember you doing a, I would love, to get my hands on that copy of that tank game that you, showed a little bit of in MechWarrior 3.
Oh shit, yeah, Recoil. I looked and looked. I wanted a big box of that because I have a problem. But yeah, I couldn't find one. I got a naked CD with a manual in the jewel case or something.
Now, one of the... can it actually run on Windows 7?
I don't really try anymore. Like, I used to try to get my games to run on my actual computer, and then I would try to include some compatibility information. And yeah, I can't really... mainly I'm worried about bricking my everyday use computer and losing a lot of things, especially after I installed Rainbow Six Lockdown on my Windows 10 test machine.
That was great. I know you're gonna disagree with me, but I'm sorry, dude. That was incredible. That was fuck.
Well, I mean, that, it could have been a lot worse. That was actually what's currently my Windows XP throwback machine that I didn't have an operating system on it yet. I was still tinkering on it. And then Windows 10's preview build came out, and I was like, yeah, I'll try it. I'll see how it runs on some older, Core 2 Quad hardware. So I wasn't going to keep Windows 10 on it for any length of time anyway. So it was a good learning experience to find out what sort of things can happen to Windows 10 when you install old video games on it.
Because I mean, I'm not going to lie, bro. That's what I'm afraid about, because I remember a while back I did an update for my Windows 7. It was like an update, and I thought, okay, this looks pretty good. And it was an update that, it was like, okay, someone update. And this is the great thing about that you have Windows 7 now. It's basically, they make the updates so long and tedious, you're basically forced into getting fucked. Basically, you have to spend about 6 hours. I have to spend 6 hours. My computer to be left on for 6 hours. Blew up. I didn't blow up, but basically 6 hours to download like 50 megabytes worth of patches, and it was absurd. It was the most absurd thing, and all I had to do was like download it so I could fucking run GOG Galaxy to get my free copy of System Shock 2, which was irrelevant when I fucking finally bought a copy from Denmark for $5. Okay, so alright, enough of that spiel.
What?
Yeah, it was amazing. I can prove it. bro.
Like a box copy and everything?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck. You know how much I paid for my copy of System Shock 2? $85 US.
Oh, Jesus.
Plus, I'm pretty sure, $21 of shipping.
No, bro, you have to... There's a few... maybe I should show him. I don't know, man. Maybe I'll... Because, he basically is this Danish guy that I found on eBay. Basically, I don't know if he ships to the US. I have no idea. But basically, he sells these big box PC games. But he sells them at like $1 a bit. And basically, that's how I got my copy of Gnome. A copy of Gnome was like $10. I mean, yeah, the shipping cost a bit. But I managed to get like a shit ton of really good PC games for basically nothing. And like one of them was like 99 cents. It's absurd. Basically, like, it cost me a fraction of the price to get like them all, like, and most of it's just shipping to get them over here. But no, one thing I've learnt, go onto like the trick when it comes to buying PC big box games. Go onto eBay, just go into worldwide, like search worldwide, and go from lowest price to highest. And as soon as you find someone that's selling a decent PC big box game for a low price, click on their account, you'll find a bunch of other shit. But that's my shitty advice. You don't. I don't know, man. Maybe you have to feel your addiction, like you did with Mountain Dew. Like you have to destroy it. You're not.
So it's a real hazard of doing a podcast with you. I've purchased now 2 video games while we've been doing this podcast.
Oh, what did you buy?
Well, I bought a PS1 copy of Legacy of
Oh
Kain
no!
Blood Omen.
Oh god, no! I don't mean like yes, it's a great game on PS1. Okay, I'm just. Oh my god!
It was a very
No.
inexpensive, and the PC version is very hard to find.
I'm just kind of concerned. I'm gonna get back to you later. It's like, Nick, mate. You didn't say you.
Yeah, I mean this could ruin our friendship.
God.
Who knows? We'll find out. We'll find out in two weeks ish when I've had a chance to play it.
So like now, you're.
And I just bought a copy of Warzone 2100 because we were talking about it, and I don't have one, and I keep forgetting to buy one.
Oh man. Okay, that was awesome. But I mean,
it's been the most expensive podcast I've ever done.
Okay, alright, because when it comes to Legacy of Kain Blood Omen, okay, so the PS1 version is great, like it's great, it's a good game still, it's a good launched game, but you have to deal with a lot of technical issues. Mostly the biggest issue I had with the game is basically the load screens. They go on for like 5-10 seconds each. Game is great in story and presentation, mixed bag in mechanical gameplay, but I warned you, man. I fucking warned you.
Well, I'm not expecting it to be, good or anything.
Then why?
See, there's a PC, I don't know, it's PC jewel case only, $13, that's not too bad.
I'd say this, the PC...
$33 for a big box, but the cellophane looks all fucked up on that one.
I could probably send a photo or something, because like the big box I got is basically perfect condition, and it costs like $5. It should come with this fantastic manual, and all this other extra shit. It's really fucking cool, but
yeah, this one that's $33 is mapless. It looks like. There's a sealed one, brand new, very rare, still in plastic, for $80.
It's tempting. I will say that it is a good game. Like it's a great game. Like it's a cult classic, but it depends.
Great looking back of the box. It's a terrible looking front of the box. I don't know whoever thought CG renders were a good idea.
I don't get it. It's Kain with this awful shit-eating grin, or something. And I know, it has to be one of the worst cover arts, but one of the best manuals, like aesthetically. You'll get that if you ever do get a copy of it, and you open it up, you look through the manual and contents, it's incredible shit. But if you really want to get the superior experience, just cancel your order on the PS1 game, buy the PC version. You have to run there's some patches to get to run prop.
Now I'll just play it on an old computer. I don't fuck with no compatibility mode, man.
Best of luck, man. There's a way to get it running perfectly in Windows 7, but you have to run it through a bunch of Russian patches. Of fucking course. No.
That's what killed my Vio.
But
was Russian patches, Russian USB drivers.
Oh no, you can get it to the game is again, like I said, like the game is gripping. Like it has this awesome opening. I'm not going to talk about anything further because trust me, the less you know about Legacy of Kain's opening, like the entire experience, the better. Because by the time if you enjoy the game, you like the story, you get into the other games. By the conclusion of the franchise, you're like, holy shit, this bad guy I was playing was basically the hero. And, anything more details is irrelevant because the whole franchise is just this incredible mess of paradoxes. That's one of the things about it. That's why I thought you might have liked it, because playing through some of the Marathon games, great games, I should mention, but Marathon 3 goes completely haywire with the paradoxes, the space-time continuum, and then I go, oh wait, I read a terminal that says, mentions a character called Roland, and I go, okay, now it makes sense now. The pieces are falling together. So basically I wanted to ask you a tough question. This is a tough fucking question, bro, but it's just what is your general thoughts on the state of modern gaming?
Oh, wow. Well, okay. A couple years ago, I was very down on gaming. Now, shit. All right. Well, let me look over my brief notes for the year in general. I I mean, we got Doom 2016 this year. That was actually pretty good. So that was good. Dark Souls 3, I think, was a good God willing, was a good send off. Devil willing is just another in the long line of Dark Souls games that are going to get worse and worse until they suck. Mankind Divided, I don't really like that much. I'm sure I should like it more. No Man's Sky was complete garbage. I think has finally we've hit the peak of that pre-order early access, promise the moon and never deliver anything.
Hey, wait, touch wood. Cool.
Knock on wood. Yep. I don't know. I mean, it's kind of weird because some things seem to have recovered from the utter stagnation of a couple years ago, but some things are not. Battlefield 1, I love Battlefield games. I'm playing Battlefield 1 and I kind of like it, but it's the same, and it's in a lot of ways it is technically worse than previous Battlefield games, and the only thing sustaining it is the fact that it's got this shiny new setting.
I have to be honest too, is that my issue with the game was just how it kind of goes for a, I don't know, they kind of don't really utilize the setting as much. I was kind of hoping for a Battle of the Somme where, you just get murdered again and again. Like, the game is basically impossible to play. And I would have liked that to be pretty cool. But, yeah.
I honestly think that the better way to make a Battlefield game would be to make it like Titanfall 1, because I actually kind of liked Titanfall 1, and the thing that I really enjoyed about it was that the whole battlefield was covered with, NPCs of little to no consequence. Yep. And I think that if they did that, if they really changed it up with Battlefield 1 and they basically said each player is more of a commander type guy, and you just fill the maps with a bunch of AI riflemen. So you, the player, you're running through the trenches, you're looking at a whole ton of guys, and you're just like tapping a button or something to say, you guys all come with me. And then you run across the fields with a big gaggle of expendable dudes who get massacred. Like that. They would have really had to totally change how Battlefield plays, and it would not become so much of a competitive game as it is. But that was what I honestly liked a lot about Titanfall, was that, it felt like you were playing for a larger objective, or you were in a larger battle. And Battlefield 1 doesn't feel like that. It feels the same as Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4, Battlefield Hardline. The only difference is that the setting is a bit refreshing, and unfortunately, from my perspective, the balance has gone to utter shit, and the maps aren't as good. So, yeah, from a reviewerly perspective, Battlefield 1's not very good. From a perspective of me, I just love Battlefield games for some crazy reason. I'm enjoying it.
Okay, fair enough. Because I'm looking forward to your end of year review, which will be coming up soon, within about a month ago.
Yeah, that one should. Oh, Jesus Christ! It's God, it's November. Yeah, I mean that should be pretty easy to do since it's. Well, I don't know. It's less complicated than the ranty things. Yeah, so I don't really know. It's a mixed bag. I feel my patience for a lot of games waning, and I don't really want to play the same bullshit. Fallout 4 last year was not good. I didn't think it was any good.
No, I get
and
it.
I just don't see any of my favorite game developers recovering and making any more truly great games. I don't see anything to really get excited about anymore.
I kind of understand that, because I haven't actually there is a few games that I do, like, I was kind of stumbled across that actually do look pretty promising. Okay, so have you got like a browser next to you, type up? Okay,
yep.
Type up Rodina, Rodina.
Have I heard about this?
Maybe.
Yes, yeah. Somebody's telling me I needed to play this.
Yeah, I'm going to be the second person to say play it, or just download the demo. But you can buy because basically the developer he wants to create Daggerfall in space, and he's been trying to do it for the last 2 years. And he's a really cool guy. It's just one guy doing the whole project, and I would say, dude, like, trust me, No Man's Sky is irrelevant with the Rodina. When you install that, like, you just play the game. It's like a 250 megabyte download, but the entire game is incredible because it basically allows you to explore a one-to-one scale of a solar system with a real sun, with Earth scale planets, and he's added in like aliens and stuff. He's going to add in settlements. He's going to add in like ship boarding, so you can like walk in your ship to the enemy ship, destroy them, hijack them, and crash them to the planet. It's an incredible kind of experience, and I would say it's probably probably, like, even though technically it was released in 2014, it's gonna be the best game I've played all year. Because there's a sense of, like, legitimate wonder and awe when you, like, crash your ship hurtling at light speed into a planet. That is pretty cool.
Yeah, I'll definitely check it out, but that's actually, it did remind me, you said Rodina has reminded me of a game that I'm interested in called Ruiner. That's kind of a top-down brawling, probably another one of those Eastern European games, and it's supposedly going to come out in 2017, and I think that's the only game that I'm really looking forward to. But let me check my Steam wish list or my Steam follow list and see if there's anything on there
that's pretty late.
I'm actually interested in.
Oh, and I see it now. It looks pretty cool. So it's a cyberpunk game. Cool. I mean, I know it's 2017 apparently, so it looks pretty cool. But I mean,
yeah, see if that ever happens. There was another cyberish, punkish game that I saw some screenshots of and thought it looked great, and I was going to play it. I think it actually came out a couple years ago, but it's called. Was it? Crap.
Was it an RPG or something?
Oh man, my brain is saying Risk of Rain. I know that's not it, but I think it has rain in it. What the hell game is it called? And I'm sure I bought it, and I'm sure it's in my Steam list. This is riveting radio.
No, dude, it's fine. But again, any issues, it just edited out or something. And again,
oh, there we go. Satellite Rain. I knew there was rain in it somewhere. Yeah, Satellite Rain. I guess it's a turn-based tactics.
Okay, I see it.
No, I lost it. But anyways, yeah. So it's one of those games. I bought it. I downloaded it. And I never booted it up because I don't know.
Dude, I can't.
I have a crippling fear of trying to involve myself in new games. Although this year game I did play and really liked is Brigador.
Brigador. Just checking out all these games.
Oh yeah. Brigador is. Did you ever play Desert Strike for the Genesis or Super Nintendo? Is that helicopter game?
I've seen it. It looks
stuff?
interesting, but what's it about?
It's one of those games that I always really liked, where basically it gives you one map and it gives you an objective of, like a couple different parts. So like part one is to destroy AA guns, and so you fly around this map from a top-down isometric perspective, destroying AA guns and little infantry guys and trying to rescue POWs, and then you destroy like some power plants, and then you destroy something else, and then you exfiltrate and you leave the area, and then basically just have a bunch of missions that all take place in one kind of open map and have a bunch of different objective areas. Brigador is I think it's the closest analog to that, but it's basically a mech game where you are placed in a smallish map and you have to fulfill certain objectives and then leave. And it's got a totally destructible, everything's destructible. There's a bunch of really cool different mech designs and cool weapons, and kind of an amazing, it's like old school. It's not like 3D, but it's old school pixel graphics, but of a super high quality. I don't know, just hand drawn, maybe. Really hard to describe.
I'm looking at it, and I'm looking at it now. Game. It looks really cool, but $20. Is it really worth it?
It's tough because it probably is my favorite game that I played this year, and I really, really like it. But I just don't know. I feel like games are too expensive for what they give you. I will say that I've played a lot of I don't know, a bunch of hours of Brigador. Let me check really quick and see how many hours I have on this game.
It looks cool. I love the design to it. It has that cool cyberpunk look to it, but at the same time it has that kind of worn-in industrial feel to it. I really like it. Like
35 hours.
Nice.
35 hours from a basic top-down game.
All right. Wow, I'm gonna check it out then. So it's okay. So it's basically so it's released this year. Okay, I'm going to try it out then. $20, and that's pretty good to me. All right. Well, I wanted to ask you because this is a really, I know this is going for this is probably fucking going on for way longer than you wanted it to, but but it's like this is like a massive massive thing observation I've made. You are 100% correct on your statement that the two defining features of Eastern European games is bold design and buggy code. And I really thought about that since 2014, and I realized over time, holy fuck, he was completely spot on. Because I've played because I got a huge collection of shitty Eastern European games and good Eastern European games, but all of them kind of share those similar features. One of them is what's it called? Illusion Softworks. They made Viet Cong, and Viet Cong, again, amazing setting, great, at times incredible gameplay, but extremely flawed throughout the entire experience. But again, they also again, like you can see this in like games like Mafia, for example, Mafia 1, interesting story, great setup, huge flaws. Same thing for Chrome, great setup, great ideas, huge flaws, and it's like a common feature. Like, and again, this is the games I've also reviewed too. Like again, Soldiers of Anarchy, great design, great setup, huge flaws. How did you come to that conclusion? And do you know of any? Because I'm not trying to say I'm a user or anything, man. But what I really fucking want is a nice list of obscure PC games and shit that I probably have missed and I haven't got, that I can just go around and pick up, because I really want to play more games like that. US Most Wanted, Chrome, that similar style, like kind of obscure, kind of flawed, have technical faults, but because I actually want to own and play more of them. Are there any of those you can really suggest or point out?
I mentioned a couple in, I don't know what the hell video it was, but one of them was Sea Dogs.
Yeah, got that.
Pirates games, published by Bethesda, strangely enough. But yeah, I think it's super cool that for some reason Eastern European developers, either they're not interested in making mass market appeal games, or it's just a cultural thing or whatever, but for some reason it seems like they really do come up with creative settings or games that really push the envelope in terms of what you can do with a video game. So I don't know how many of them would qualify as like hidden gems, but one of them, definitely Sea Dogs was really impressive. I always thought Chrome was really just freaking great. A game called 7.62 High Caliber, I mentioned, I think, in that video as well. They made a game called Brigade E5, and 7.62 High Caliber was the sequel to that. They're basically Jagged Alliance games, but in 3D. And if they ran better, if they didn't crash so much, they would just be stellar knockout games. I think they're really good.
Because that's one of the few things I was going to ask. Because again, this is one of the things I love. Those again, another dev that I have a few devs out that I really respect, and like one of them is From Software, who made the Dark Souls series. I actually have played a lot of the games, notably on Armored Core, and I will be the first to say Armored Core is like the second or first best mecha game besides MechWarrior. I mean, it may not be a simulator, but if you've played the games, like at least the first and second one, the franchise is fucking incredible. It would actually, if you want to buy a good PS1 game, cancel your copy of that purchase of fucking Legacy of Kain, go and buy a copy of Armored Core 1. That is actually one of the few PS1 games I have played and actually does hold up still. Somehow. Maybe, because I was just fangasming over how good it was.
I have been meaning to try out Armored Core for real sometime, so yeah, I will do that. I actually already did that and ordered a Blood Omen for PC. So
excellent, man. You're gonna be in.
Yep, I got a lot of tabs open. I'm planning to waste a lot of money today.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, the pain.
Pain.
Hopefully. But yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned Viet Cong and those guys. Those also did Hidden and Dangerous, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I've actually been playing through Hidden and Dangerous 2 recently.
Yeah, and Mafia is one of those games that I didn't play it in time.
Yeah,
by the time I'd played it, it was already showing its age really badly. But I always used to see it on the game shelf, and
no, I've got it. It's not
kind of trying to crack that gatefold and see that, that's one of my favorite things is look inside the gatefolds of games. Let me actually grab it off the shelf here. Where'd it go? There it is. This was always packed in because it was a Take-Two game. It was packed in with the first Max Payne. Yeah, that freaking gatefold. And like the game, doesn't at all resemble the awesome stuff that's on the gatefold.
Of course.
But yeah, just I have to respect, I respect anybody who's willing to work on a new setting like that, kind of break new ground. They were breaking new ground in the Mafia setting in terms of video games, and definitely the godfather of the game as one of the very first open world map control games, and probably the first truly playable open world Mafia game.
Oh yeah,
definitely a better game from my perspective. But yeah, they get so much credit for for pushing the envelope in that direction.
It's an impressive, it's a technically refined game, but as you know who has already mentioned, basically he made a video about the Mafia games and pointed out how the games are extremely flawed and Mafia 1 is practically unplayable at this point. Like it's a bad game, I would say. I mean, you can find plenty of good reviews for it, but it's very hard playing Mafia 1 now. Like, and actually enjoying yourself, because it's just a piece of shit. Anyway, the combat is just awful. But anyway.
I'd say, yeah, kind of like, from at least I think a lot of movies that were not great later became well respected. I shouldn't say too much, but there's a lot of like really famous old movies that I think are pretty bad, but at the same time you can appreciate what they did for the genre. So yeah, Mafia, I don't know, it's, you know, I don't love it, but I totally am interested in it and I totally respect them. But I really want to do a video of Driver 3 or Drive 3er.
Yeah. 'Cause I mean,
or actually Driv 3er, I think, to give it its correct American pronunciation.
Is it?
Oh, jeez, I want to get a PC copy of it, but it's difficult. I think I may have actually ordered one. Oh shit! I better not buy one just in case I already bought one.
It's like in your post box. It's just chock-a-block. Anyway.
Yep. I haven't gone outside in a couple days, and it's starting to get pretty intense out there. I don't know. I'm looking at my shelf full of garbage. When we were talking about Dark Messiah of Might and Magic, I cannot remember. Arcane Studios. Yeah. Oh, they're French. Okay.
Can you do me a big favor?
You know what? Arx Fatalis fucking rules.
Can you do me
that?
Oh yeah, that's right. I've seen a bit of footage of it. It's like based underground, first person. Yeah, I've heard some good things about it.
It's the spiritual sequel. It's totally just a straight up 3D style remake of Ultima Underworld. Yeah. But Ultima Underworld is so much. Okay, you mentioned Daggerfall. I know we're totally ping ponging around right here, but you mentioned Daggerfall and how that game wants to be a space Daggerfall. That's like the biggest condemnation of a game ever. I don't like Daggerfall.
Or it's more like, I'm not so much talking about like gameplay. I'm talking more like how it has this huge world to explore and it's very open, and it's more. And it's more open than, say, Skyrim, which actually gives you, like, go this way, go talk to this person. Okay, now the game begins when you can shout and stuff. And you've got dragons. It's Daggerfall's more like, okay, let's go. And that's what makes Regina really cool, is that, like, it goes, hey, you see that asteroid over there? There's, like, hundreds of like them. Just walk around it. Go over there. Hey, you see that spaceship over there? Have a firefight, like an actually challenging and difficult firefight where you can actually crash your ship into the ground if you accidentally go at light speed on the surface. That happens in the game. That's what makes it awesome. But it's but no, like I'm trying to look up the Arx Fatalis. How do you fucking spell it? The Arx.
Arx Fatalis Fatalis.
There we go. So I mean, I've seen the Xbox version of it a bit, but I know that it has this great again Underworld kind of feel to it, and.
It's the thing I like about Underworld is that it's small scale, you know, and it lets it be very realistic, you know. And I think a feeling that I got from both Ultima Underworld and Arx Fatalis was that these are living spaces more than anything else. They're not even like dungeons. Somehow that they've managed to make a completely underground world in both of those games feel like home to somebody.
Yeah, and that makes
and that small scale makes them so impressive to me. Whereas Daggerfall.
Yeah, it's graphically incompetent.
In a way, it's ahead of its time because games we have now are just an endless ocean of copy-pasted, randomly generated bullshit. Whereas nothing you do in Daggerfall seems like it matters, and, you know, there's a billion NPCs, and all of them you can talk to about the same things, and none of them have anything to say. And it's all, it's just randomly cracked together, so you'll go into a shop, and there's, like, a table in front of the door, so you can't even get all the way into the shop, and you're like, Why even play this game? There's nothing here. But that's my retroactive opinion about Daggerfall because I never played it when it was still impressive.
I mean, it's actually a good point when you talk about level design and such like that because I don't know if it was you or my brother or like that other guy, H-Bomber guy, who talked about it, was that the issue with randomly generated content is that you basically have a whole load of stuff, but none of it actually makes much sense. So you basically have just stuff lying around that doesn't actually make any physical or logical sense. So to have an idea within it was that you play Thief, all the world feels quite like an actual real world for the most part. Like it actually feels like
really handcrafted.
Yeah, handcrafted. That's the thing about it. You could really see them doing their own replicas and models when it came to the actual design portion of the game. But then you go to something that's more, again, randomly generated. Let's say, throwing out there. Sorry, I haven't played as much. Let's again, like one of the bazillion, like again, example, Ark Survival Island. So that's random. That's random content. I believe. I think. Better be. I'm just gonna be fucking wrong about this. But games of that breed is that again, the world is kind of quantity over quality. And that makes a huge difference. Again, that's my brother was playing through Stalker. He loves Stalker, Call of Pripyat, the third game. And most of it's because he just loves the ballistics, which, yeah, they're fucking awesome. The fact they actually deflect off surfaces and such, and actually do actual bullet drop, depending on caliber. That's awesome. But, all the world has this really, again, lived in, rusty, broken kind of feel. And I don't know if you watched the movie, which is kind of a bizarro experience, but it does a
I've tried watching the movie. I have another friend of the show, Specom or Mr. DX, who freaking loves that movie, and he's always trying to tell me about how great it is. I tried watching it, and I was like, this seems more like art house bullshit than an actual sci-fi, and I'm sure if I really watched it, I could enjoy it more. But yeah, I just does not hold a lot of interest in me.
Jokes on the people that worked on the film, they all got radiation sickness and they died. No, true thing. The director... the director was... I know.
I shouldn't find that so savagely enjoyable, but I do.
No, the director himself, he was, good, was a pretty significant Russian director. Him and many of the main actors died because they were working on, radiation dumping grounds to get that authentic look. So they died. It was a literal a work of life and love because again they all fucking died, so they couldn't make a sequel. That's a serious, like, I mean, I've always again, it makes the movie a bit weird to watch, but I've seen bigger cringe fests out there. I mean, I've seen it is an art house in many ways, but it isn't as aggressive as other shit I've seen. I've watched, at least. That wasn't a 7. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, I wouldn't say there's as much artsy, like let's just put the camera in an artsy place and look at some waving grass or something. I mean, there's a lot of like American art house bullshit, college kid movies, but a lot of it is sort of like that. Oh, let's philosophize about philosophy.
No,
whatever. It's late and I'm tired. Actually, it's not that late, so I don't have a good excuse. But yeah, just the philosophy, boring, talking. Is there a meaning to life? What's the meaning of life? I think this is the meaning of life. Well, sir, I find that fascinating, but I think this is the meaning of life. Interesting. Let's carry on. Hey, you know what another meaning of life could be? Oh, I find that fascinating. Fascinating. I don't know, just a droning, highbrow. I hate highbrow. I'm an American. I can't help it.
No, I mean, I agree. Like, I mean, it sounds like I do kind of get what you're trying to get. I mean, one of my favorite films. I mean, there is art house, and one of my favorite movies. I know a bit of an odd choice, but I really like Brazil. Like, I really find that a really cool movie.
I've got to watch that. I really
It's a weird movie. It's a bizarre movie. It's got some really cool scenes, but it was one of the things about it is I love the I just kind of love the dystopia kind of more dark humor of. It's like a more 1984, but more of a dark humor. But also I think it's presented better. Like, it's actually more. It feels more consistent and more appropriate in its tone. That was one of the issues I had with 1984. But that's a fucking shit show of discussion. The big thing is, dude, of terms of... Okay, here's a big question here. I need to ask you this, because you have a great insight to a lot of unique shit that I want to know more about. And one of them is, do you know of any really good, obscure movies you would recommend?
The one that I always recommend to people is one of my favorite movies of all time is a Japanese movie called Radio no Jikan.
How do you spell it?
It's easier to look up the English title, which is Welcome Back, Mr. McDonald.
Well.
And it's It is a movie about a bunch of, Japanese actors producing a live radio drama. And so it's a movie that basically takes place in real time as they're like the countdown to the live show begins, and then everything goes wrong and they try to fix it live. And the radio show that they're presenting takes on so many twists and turns as they keep doing damage control. So it's a great comedy, and the thing that I really like about it is it's very reminiscent of theater, and it's something that you could sort of see as there's a play called Noises Off, which is about people in a play doing a play, kind of play within a play bullshit. And it was directed by a guy who I think had a lot of theater experience, and so it's got a lot of really long takes and a lot of really interesting sort of theatrical perspective. And, I went to college and I got a useless Japanese degree, and my Japanese degree isn't even in Japanese language, it's in Japanese culture, so it's double useless. And the best thing that came out of my entire college career is that I watched that movie in a film studies class, and it became one of my top 5 movies of all time.
That sounds fucking awesome, man. Because, my understanding of film studies was like, here's Blade Runner, enjoy. It's like,
well, I had that class too, so all right. I could rant about college. I hated college. I'm sure a lot of people really liked college. I thought it was stupid. But yeah, I had a class that I really wanted to take, and I think it was first available in my sophomore year with this professor, and it was called like cyberpunk and anime or something like cyberpunk class, film cyberpunk class. Looked like it would have been the coolest shit. And I was going to take it, and then the professor broke his neck and he was out for 9 months.
Sucks.
And I went to Japan, did an exchange, lived in Japan for a while, did my junior year there, came back, and he was recovered, he was teaching again, the class was available again, and I was like, this is the best, this is great. Like, I didn't have a chance to take it, now I'm finally going to take it. Holy shit. The biggest bullshit ever. It's just complete and total wankery. The assigned reading was both of the books he wrote, and they were really bad. Oh man, but yeah, it was sort of like let's watch Blade Runner. Let's watch what's that? The German movie Metropolis, Metropolis, which was just awful. I just hated it. I hated every second of it. And that was most of my experience in college was like, let's watch an okay movie and then dissect it until it's terrible.
Because I know Blade Runner did inspire so many great products. Ghost in the Shell, Matrix, etc., etc. I have to really say that really watching it now is hard. It's really hard.
I really like the movie, but I never have to see it again. It's weird. I don't know. It's not in the same way like Christopher Nolan movies. Every time I watch one of those, I really like it, and every time I rewatch one of those, I realize that his entire shtick is the first watch through is basically tension. Memento, Dark Knight Rises. Now I don't even remember. But yeah, some of those films really fun to watch once, not fun to watch again, and that's the same problem I have with Blade Runner and some other really excellent, really famous movies that are there. Yeah, they're super important. They're really great to watch once, but they're not the kind of movie that you can pop in and watch over and over again. Whereas one of my favorite movies is Pineapple Express.
I've heard about that. I want to find it. I want to Pineapple Express.
I've never smoked pot. Totally not a stoner guy, and I don't really like most stoner comedies. But for some reason, that movie is just so much fun.
Worth checking out.
And people ask me what's my favorite movie, and I say it's Pineapple Express, and they're like, "Oh, either you're kidding or you're an idiot." And I'm like, "It's kind of both." Damn, love that movie. Totally shouldn't love that movie, but it's great.
But I'm actually going to ask you, I know this is probably a complete polar fucking opposite of what you just recommended. Type up the movie Threads. Just type up Threads.
British television drama. Is this the correct thing?
And read the blurb. I'll be honest, it is definitely one of my favorite movies. And it's a TV movie, and trust me, just check it, just read the blurb.
docudrama about nuclear war.
It's pretty fucking awesome. Put it like this: if you watch, be completely honest like this, if you watch that movie, you'd be like going, "Holy fucking shit! This is like literally the best movie ever made." It's so good. Everything about the movie is fantastic and perfectly made. Everything about it is good. I can't know. What's more though, it's really hard to watch because it's basically on point with its realism, and it pretty much puts everything in really focus. Yeah, I'd say I know I'm coming from the same guys who really likes but I mean, like, it's just read the blurb of it, and just find it on Vimeo, find it, watch it, come back and go, holy fuck, that was incredible, time to produce as many videos before the apocalypse.
I'll definitely watch it. That's something I'm interested in. Like, I really love the Chernobyl setting, which is why I'm such a huge Stalker fan.
That's what makes it incredible, though, is how the setting kind of divulges, because again, it's basically about the city of Sheffield in England getting nuked in the 1980s, and it's just so fucked because it's like, yeah, there's so many parallels to the fictional setting they have of Threads. Like, okay, it's basically where you have this Iran, Middle Eastern country, there's like a coup that happens, but then Russia comes in, they back the government, but then the US opposes the government, and then thing leads to another thing, and then they start firing nukes at each other. And you go, kind of sounds like what happens now.
That's exactly what's happening right now.
Yep, and that's what makes it just such an incredible work, is that you really get the sense of, whoa, fuck, that escalated quickly. Oh shit, so yep, society collapsed. Oh, what, it's 10 years later? Oh, okay, we're fucked. And it's just, it leads one thing to another, and it makes you just go, fuck, by the end of it. But actually, no, have you ever seen the movie The Day After?
No, I don't think so.
American classic.
I'm thinking something else.
You gotta check that out. It's an American classic. Fun for the whole family.
Oh, maybe I have seen parts of this. I'm a huge fan of bleak sci-fi movies, or like really just depressing films like Sunshine. Really love that movie. Children of Men.
Oh man! Oh, we're on the same fucking page.
Yearning.
I absolutely love Children of Men. Again, another one of my favorite movies. I read the book too. Excellent movie. That's the one. That's a movie that I think it's, again, another real underrated classic, honestly. And again, it's a great dystopia. Mankind is fucked basically, but there is hope in the shittiness aspect of it. And again, it's like these moments of just I don't know, like, it's a well-made movie and really underrated.
Yeah, there's parts of just technical brilliance, the long take scenes that just...
Yeah, but it's just...
staggeringly good. Like, that's such an amazing... like, every other movie looks like a lazy piece of shit compared to Children of Men, just because of how much work had to have gone into that. And, yeah, and also part of it, I think, is just, like, the astonishing humanity in a lot of the characters and a lot of the settings, where it's like, this is people, this is how real people really are. There's almost nothing dramatized about this.
What's more is
There's
other stuff to it that I really like, because I want to try and do a review on it, but I'll probably get flagged or some shit, because there's other stuff I love about, like the lack of music through the entire experience. So there's only a few points of the movie they use music, and that's like when they use kind of like more classical kind of pieces, and it's great because it's like all this other really great background pieces, and it kind of fits into this kind of like this kind of fall of mankind thing, and now it's excellent in that regard. And he also, like, again, I love how the whole, like, the main character, Josh? No, it's fucking some other douchebag.
Clive Owen?
Yeah, Clive Owen. Clive Owen.
Yeah, he was in a bunch of movies around that time. He was the guy. He was in Sin City. He was in Shoot 'Em Up, both of which, in retrospect, are not good films. But Children of Men was goddamn incredible.
No, it's definitely, again, this is the thing about it, is it's real, okay, there it is, yeah, Clive Owen, you're right. Like, the great thing about it is, like, there's always moments of just, like that, for example, the main character, he doesn't kill anyone or shoot any guns in the whole movie. Like, he bashes up, like, one or two people, but it feels very, more authentic, and then when it does happen, it's more like a shocking thing. And I think that's what ends up happening, is that, like, well, the whole world's ripping itself apart, one person is trying to survive. And the best part is, and I love this, because recently I played through some games, And I realized to myself, hold the fucking moment. Is Last of Us just a rip-off of Children of Men?
I still haven't played Last of Us.
No,
but I don't even think I want to.
If you ever play Last of Us, the entire time I was playing Last of Us it's Children of Men. This old grizzled guy is looking after this younger, little bit more naive girl who never really understood the world until it all went to shit. And you go, wait, it's Children of Men because the fighting stuff, the kind of the violence is like Children of Men, the settings like Children of Men, everything's like Children of Men, and it really again, it's amazing to see how they rip off the plot and everyone calls it a masterpiece. I kind of dispute that claim.
Oh man, if we tie it back into GTA 5, that's one of the things that I really don't like about video games is that all of the good video game plots are just straight rip-offs of good movie plots. And GTA is one of the worst offenders where every single mission is just a reference to something else. And Rockstar hasn't created any original content.
You're basically correct on that because it's either Goodfellas, The Sopranos, Heat, one version of Heat or another, basically.
A bunch of different heist movies all together in GTA 5. It was a bunch of different gangster movies in GTA 3. Bunch of 80s Scarface style stuff in Vice City.
You pointed out, No Country for Old Men. It's just again, like you said, ripped off the opening scene.
I know, and I don't. I know some people really like that. They see that and they're like, "Oh, it's that scene." I'm like, I saw that movie.
If I want to watch Children of Men, I'll watch Children of Men.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like either I saw that movie and you're just repeating it, which is stupid, or I didn't see that movie and I'm thinking that you're clever even though all you did was rip off a movie. It's bad. It's bad either way.
It's a real damn shame. I find the movie a real. I got some of the issues about how this is one of the issues people have pointed out was with a lot of games and movies. Oh yeah, a lot of games now. It's basically they treat it isn't a serious. I might be a future video stuff, but I'm lazy and shitty like that. But too often you'll play a new game and 90% of the gameplay feels like a cutscene, and when you finally actually do get into the gameplay, it's over really fast. And that's one of the things I really miss was where gaming was completely hands-on, and you actually felt like you were actually getting a meaningful experience instead of just an overly long cutscene, which is what a lot of games feel like now. Again, this is one of the reasons. Yeah,
that's what I like about Dark Souls is that it's a game that you still play all of. You're still in control of all of that thing, and most games now have that one button takedown where all you have to do is maneuver your guy close and tap a button and then he kills him, or like in Assassin's Creed where it's you just wait for the guy to attack and then you hit the counter button and then you press the counter button one time and your guy does a cool move scene. Yeah, and games used to be that's a lot more than that, which is I have to talk about Oni and disagree with you about Oni because I fucking love that game.
Yeah,
but
because
the combat, the fighting, it's all hands on. The shooting mechanic, the fighting mechanic, the movement mechanic. You're all in perfect, complete control of your character, and nothing is automated. Whereas if that were to happen now, they'd have to take all those combos and give them you one button combos, and they'd have to give you all sorts of like a Mirror's Edge style, just jump near the ledge and you're good to go. It's a hands-on style of gameplay that you don't get anymore, and it's not even about difficulty because you've heard my Serious Sam rant about difficulty. Difficulty's bullshit. It doesn't matter. It's the important thing is if you're playing the game.
This is another thing about it though, was that with Oni, I have mixed feelings towards the game because I love, again, this is another game that I love its setting, but the gameplay pisses me off. Not because it's bad, don't be wrong, it's just small issues like the lack of quick saves. I couldn't really, maybe there's a mod for it, but I couldn't find anything like that. You can get the whole game for free now, you can just download it. But the game, again, I really like the kind of sci-fi, cops kind of feel to it, that kind of goes kind of Deus Ex later on. I like that, and I like some of the characters. What I don't like is how, enemies can kind of gun you down from a mile away, and then they can just get up and beat the shit out of you. That sucks. Also, some terrible boss fights. Just some shockingly bad ones.
Yeah. those aren't really good. I was really I always thought it was hilarious that the end boss battle of Human Revolution is basically just one of the Deadly Brain encounters from Oni. That was kind of funny. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of screwed up shit in Oni, and it really, you know, it's a Bungie game, but it's not the same Bungie. It's the other Bungie, the short-lived Bungie that only made Oni. But yeah, I think there's enough stuff in there that I still really like it. I really enjoyed the plot thread, and unfortunately, it has that same video game problem of it. You know, it's sort of derivative of movies, anime, comics, that sort of thing. They still didn't really come up with their entirely original premise.
Oh,
as good as it was.
Oh, hey, by the way, if you actually no, it's just because I mean, again, I know to bother you about this, but seriously though, any good channels, like gaming channels like yours out there that I'm not aware of, because I know I got yours. That's a good start, but are there any others that kind of cover your, you know, gaming in a similar way, that kind of analytical, kind of, you're basically similar content to what you produce?
I don't really know. I mean, like, a lot of the channels that I really like on YouTube lately is like the guy who eats old World War II vintage MREs.
Awesome.
Like, that's like my favorite channel. He unpacks a World War II C ration and says, "Wow, this is disgusting," and then he tastes all of it and smokes the old cigarettes. Like, that's my favorite YouTube channel right now. I don't know. There's been a couple of other channels that I think have done really impressive things, but I don't know. I don't know if there was a show that was just like what I do, I wouldn't watch it.
Not just like yours, but like they cover topics in a similar way. But put it like this: not classic game room.
Oh Jesus! Oh Jesus!
Okay.
Wow. Yeah. So I mean, there are lazy channels, and then there's classic game room, but that's another story, I guess. There's a guy who had a show called Loser Talk, which was a video game show, and he has kind of a laid-back style. And he totally shut down his show. He was on hiatus for a long time, and he just recently popped back up as VG Dude, like Video Game Dude. And he only has 3 uploads so far in the last couple months, and I don't know if he's going to really stick around and do this for a long time, but for some, I don't know, whatever reason, I just really have enjoyed his style. So he's, you know, his new channel is very young, and if you want to check it out, he's got 3 videos that are pretty interesting.
I'm kind of shocked. Okay, so he's got... Okay, so I'm looking at it. It's pretty cool. I mean, but it seems bizarre. He's got like some decent channel art, but then a terrible like profile pic. That's just the default. Like, that guy's got to improve that shit.
Yeah, like, and this channel's been up for a few months, you know, and he was on hiatus for a really long time. So I'm not sure if he's really back or what he's doing with it, but you know, I was really bummed when he stopped making videos. He had a ton of videos, mostly like N64 games, which I always thought was I really liked his take on them, and I don't know if he's ever going to upload those again or whatever, and it's, you know, there's probably some circumstances behind his sudden disappearance and sudden reappearance, but either way, I'd say he's a guy to watch out for, because if he continues making videos, they should be just as good as his old stuff.
Would you say like on because I want, this is another big question, but there's like an itch that needs to be scratched, and one of them is trying to find a military game. Like, I know we might have mentioned them in passing already, but like just the ones you'd recommend. An action game, a military game, a strategy game that kind of has a authentic kind of feel to the guns. Like, I mean, I know it seems kind of weird, but it's like, again, I'm talking about like Stalker, but it's like has a realistic feel to the guns. Something like that, but you know, I already have Stalker.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, that's one of the things that I really liked about Secret Service In Harm's Way and U.S. Most Wanted Nowhere to Hide, was that they essentially got the gun handling perfect. You know, like they behave exactly like real guns, and that's really cool. Works very well in Secret Service, doesn't really work that well in U.S. Most Wanted. Recently, the thing that's impressed me a lot is Battlefield. Like, I guess at some point when working on Battlefield 3, they just decided to reinvent themselves and make the guns 100% realistic.
Yeah, they feel... Yeah.
You know, I mean, they never were in Bad Company or before that, but Battlefield 3, I was just like, holy shit, you know, they've got the tactical versus full reloads, they've got extra rounds in the chamber, they've got perfect weapon manipulation. The way your guy reloads the shotgun is like totally realistic. The way that, you know, you run dry on a shotgun, he puts one shell in, racks it forward, then fills the tube up. It's like holy shit. They've just decided, hey, it's as easy to make it perfectly realistic as it is to make it not realistic, so let's just make it perfectly realistic. Unfortunately, the application of the weapons in Battlefield 3 is either in the shitty single-player campaign or the frenetic multiplayer where you don't really get to enjoy it.
That's one of the issues I've had.
So,
I want to play games like it.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, it doesn't have to be necessarily like. Again, I'm talking about like more. I'm trying to find more games that have a realistic feel to the weaponry. I know,
Mm-hmm.
I know Armor and Operation Flashpoint are kind of like that. Like, it's actually like kind of. There is it's not super realistic, but it is there. Like the simulator aspect is there. But are there any other?
Where they fail, I think, is in just that they don't make it feel visceral enough. Like that's my favorite thing about shooting in real life is just how like exhilarating and fun it is. It's loud, it's explosive, and in Arma, it's just sort of like pop, 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 pop. It's a very macro simulation. It's realistic on the macro level, but being the guy behind the trigger doesn't feel very realistic.
Well, any other things you'd recommend?
Well, obviously, Black is probably just the worst game ever made. The one that I'm thinking of right now, and it really frustrates me when people point that out as a game with good guns, because it absolutely isn't. The guns have all sorts of garbage shit grafted to them, and they're so fucking terrible.
Yeah.
I'm gonna rant about that someday, but not now. I guess not just in a first-person mode, but Jagged Alliance 2, if you download the 1.13 mod, it includes a ton of weapons and gear and really cool, realistic stuff. And my favorite part, I think, is a realistic portrayal of load-bearing equipment. So your guy has like a assault pack and a chest rig where he carries his stuff, all your little mercenary guys in the tactics game. And he also can have a big backpack on. And when combat starts, to keep yourself from being weighed down, you ditch your big backpack,
awesome.
And then it sits there on the ground with some of your spare stuff in it. And I'm pretty sure that was only added in the 1.13 mod. But that mod is so good, it's so worth playing. It's just chock full of really great realistic guns. And of course in that game, there's only like one sprite for a guy holding a gun. So they all look the same in game, in the view of the combat. So it's it's not perfect, it's not fully there, but it's still really cool. Lots of great sound effects, and same kind of idea with 7.62 High Caliber, which was a spiritual sequel, unofficial sequel to Jagged Alliance. It's got those cool guns. The thing about 7.62 High Caliber, and I think Brigade E5, although I haven't played it as much, is that like you have magazines. You have to have your magazines loaded with bullets like in Jagged Alliance 2. So in between combat, you go into your guy's inventory and you unbox some shells and you stick them into the magazines so that you have magazines for the next fight.
Awesome.
And that is something I really think would make a lot of survival games better, is if they really slowed it down, gave you a lot more downtime, and actually forced you to load your magazines again. Because the game Receiver, for example, that first-person shooter tech demo kind of thing, it's that game, the realistic gun handling simulation. It's got right. So in between your frenetic encounters, you try to collect bullets, and then you sit there in the corner. You eject all of your magazines, you top them up with as many bullets as you can, and then you load your gun up again, and you're ready to go. And you have like one or two spare magazines. That's cool. That's like real gun handling. But in terms of enjoying the visceral, cool, awesome guns, wow, I don't know.
So, I mean, I've enjoyed I'm just trying to think of a gun game that I've actually quite enjoyed. Let's look at it right now. I mean, I like
Trespasser. Jurassic Park Trespasser. They made a big deal about getting licenses for all the guns, and it's kind of cool the fact that you can rotate your character's arm any way you want to, so you can hold a MAC-10 sideways and shoot some dinos gangster style.
That's pretty badass. Shoot an assault rifle one-handed, because that's possible. That happens.
Well, I mean, if the fan explanation is that you broke your left arm in the crash, so you have to do one-handed the whole way through.
Oh yeah, but it's just like
duh.
I mean, okay, so that's one of the things I do like about Wolfenstein New Order. While being super cutscene heavy, it did have really cool gun handling. Like when you actually fired a sci-fi-ish Nazi assault rifle or shotgun into someone, it really did feel like you were firing a shotgun. Mostly because of the effects and just particles and the gore and the goo-hey. But that's neither here nor there. what is here is the realization, the sad realization that you get to shoot your cans of Mountain Dew, while I get to shoot nothing with my Mountain Dew, bro. I got nothing. I'm working on paintball here, man. Oh, then again, maybe I can smuggle something down. And anyway, neither here nor there.
Well, you could always move. You could always move to a real country.
Man, Australia's as real as it gets. We have killer everything. We have. I mean, like case in point, I was driving past the road, and with my family, and we saw an echidna. And echidnas are just these little guys with sharp spikes that kill you. And then you pick them up, and they're like these little teddy bears, and you give them a little scratch. It's awesome. Anyway, but that's the great thing about Australia. May look super intimidating. Turns out, roll it over. Not much, honestly.
See, I mean, like, America's full of guns, and you'd think that'd make us dangerous, but no, Australia's where all the real danger is, because of all the terrifying animals.
You know, again, this is a thing they talk about, is that there's an issue I don't know about you, but I mean, again, this is one of the issues that this is one of the things I do want to avoid, was to ever branch into politics, because that is some fucking cancer that I try to contain on Discord servers, but...
Yeah, well, I mean, that was the way I figured we'd close out the conversation, was by talking about the recent American presidential election, because I'm sure you have a lot to say about that.
No. Oh man, you're going to my dialogue. Anyway, the great.
Well, I mean, if you want to, you can go on your stereotypical obligatory foreigner rant about I can't believe America would elect a racist, sexist, orange potato man.
The potato thing I get. But the funny thing is, like, I mean, I don't know, like, because, I mean, I'm on the left, but, like, kind of left from center, so I had the experience of kind of just looking at things and kind of going, oh, okay. Like, I mean, if I look at America and I kind of go, I don't get why it's all so emotional there. Like, why is it that, like, I don't understand how the Trump supporters, at least from my perspective, were going, it's over if he doesn't win, and then those who were like voting Hillary go, oh god, it's over, he won, and I just don't get it. Like, I kind of, I mean, again, yeah,
we are really wrapped up in identity politics, and then of course, you know, I think it's part of our news cycle as well. Our news is everybody's favorite TV show.
Yes, that's one of the
like, it's starting to die because people should turn over and watch, you know, The Walking Dead or Game of Thrones instead. But unfortunately, the news has become the thing to do. Like, so many people watch the news every night, and that's their entertainment. Like, for me, you know, I listen to the news radio when I'm in the car, maybe, or I check some news websites occasionally. But for a lot of people, I mean, mainly it's older people, it's all that news. And then, of course, the even younger people they don't have hobbies. They just sit on Facebook and look at Facebook news. So news is so exciting and fun here that nobody really notices that none of it's true.
That's one of the issues I have with like, that's one of the things that, like, it just blows my mind, because I watch a podcast. You probably wouldn't like them so much, but, you know, who knows, maybe it might be in your shenanigans. It's called the Drunken Peasants Podcast, and basically they cover, like, news, social politics, other topics. Like, they kind of this really nice gambit of different topics. But the big difference is about is that as a viewer, you can recommend YouTube videos for them to talk about, debunk, respond to, watch, whatever, and it's cool stuff. It is a mixed bag, because, I mean, it depends on how you feel about some of the people there, but it is kind of quite self-aware, and the fandom is great in how cancerous it is. But basically they cover, like, news and shit, and it's funny how they turn on CNN, and I'm like going, okay, CNN, this is like the default American news service. Like, it's like the more tries to be the more central than Fox News, but even though it's less consumed. But it's amazing in comparison to Australia how it's so commercialized and so entertainment focused. Like, you're watching Fox News, not to CNN, MBS, MSNBC, and the gambit goes all across all the networks, not to actually learn so much, but to actually go, this is actually really cool. I find this entertaining. I mean, maybe it's just my perspective, but this is, this is the Australian retard perspective on the American news. But is it really like that? Like, you know, it really is just a sideshow?
Yeah, it's all about being exciting and interesting, and like you're supposed to be. The whole thing is that you're supposed to be shocked and appalled by every single news story. They're all framed like that. Like you know, like there's a story that's gonna get your goat. You're gonna be so frustrated by what those other people are doing. You know, everything is sensationalized to the moon because they know that outrage culture is what sells. And you know, and it's interesting. I think to compare it to like the BBC. You know, BBC News is always very conservative and very like here. You know, here's what's going on. Have a nice day. And I think it's a state-run news service has the unfortunate potential of being easily censored. You know, I find it very interesting that Jeremy Clarkson. He's like one of my favorite people just because he's such an outrageous asshole and doesn't care about it. But how anti-BBC he was being on the BBC. It was like The Simpsons being on Fox. The Simpsons being more left-leaning. They used to be a lot more centrist. Now they're very left because of who writes for them. But, you know, they were a lot more left than Fox. And they were so big that they could make fun of Fox all the time and get away with it. Jeremy Clarkson was so big he could make fun of the BBC all the time and get away with it. Anybody else, you know, having a dissenting viewpoint like Jeremy Clarkson on the BBC would get completely squashed because it's state-run, it's got to be very PC, it's got to be very nice. So in the United States, the news doesn't have to be like that, at least on the surface. You know, it's not as subject to government censorship, you would think, except what happens is normal, everyday people get wrapped up in identity politics, and the really rich people, it becomes their civic duty. So extremely rich people that own CNN, their preferred candidate is Hillary Clinton, therefore they are going to essentially make CNN, as it's derisively known, the Clinton News Network. It's going to be very pro Hillary. And then, you know, like Breitbart. I like Breitbart just because I like to compare Breitbart to other news sites and then try to use that to sort of generate a middle of the road viewpoint. But Breitbart, very pro Trump, therefore unabashedly they're going to support Trump. So there is censorship. But it's not the government saying you need to censor this. It's people saying we need the government that we want, therefore we're going to self-censor.
Okay, that's a fair perspective.
It's so strange.
That's a good perspective on it.
And I know, and my perspective is that I hate politics and politicians, and I just want to watch the world burn.
I have to kind of agree.
So I am enormously pleased with the outcome of the election.
I mean, this is one of the things why I don't get. This is one of the reasons why I just want to say to everyone on the left that was like, yes! Like, no. Everyone on the left was going, fuck no! It's awful, we're fucked! I just want to say to them, you realise that with the Trump presidency, now it's not guaranteed, but remember when Bush got in and he was like a disaster and all that shit, and he had that real big progressive movement in 2008 with Obama, and you could we're gonna make this big change. Remember how that happened? Well, that wouldn't have Obama would never have actually been president if Bush didn't get in. If it was like Al Gore and then someone else like John Kerry or something is. And no. Obama would never have come because it wasn't like that big old build-up of progressivism and establishment conservatism and stuff like that. And that's the issue. I mean, that's kind of, it's again, like, talk about the pendulum, swings backwards and forwards and, or left to right. And that's the thing about it. Right now, the pendulum swung to the right, if you really want to say it like that. Trump got in, he had more popular support among the people. I mean, like, voter interest. And, he wins that kind of thing, but that's just going to swing back to the left. And that's the funny thing about it, is it's just going to swing back next cycle. So when people freak out and go, oh my god, we're doomed, it's bullshit, because it's just going to swing back in a few years, and then we'll go through the same political roundabout of, again, same bullshit, same faces, slightly different, maybe slightly different result, but again, this is another thing. Like, I mean, I know you're a libertarian and stuff like that. I'm not sure whether or not you land on the right or left libertarian in terms of economics, because I mean there is more of a syndicalist and more of a anarchist. But I mean, like, I was going to ask you, like, what was your thoughts on Gary Johnson?
Oh man, I mean, he's not like a libertarian candidate that libertarians can be proud of, but honestly, it's okay because he was never going to win anyway. So it was kind of the funny situation where, be like, oh, you're libertarian, you're voting for Gary Johnson? Yes. Oh, why? He said all this stupid stuff. And you're like, well, I don't want him to be president, really, and there's no risk of him being president. So I'm voting for him just as a statement of libertarianism. But it is funny that pendulum swings back and forth on the surface, but really underneath, nothing ever actually changes.
Of course.
Like there was a lot of reasons that people voted for Barack Obama in 2008 and 2012, and all of that was nonsense. None of that ever materialized, and the same is going to be true forever. And just people hate politics until the election happens, and all of a sudden they're like, I hate politics, but this is really important. And then afterwards they're like, yeah, I just hate politics. I'm like, hey, you should just stay hating politics. Let's just always hate politics together forever.
It was
so yeah. I so don't give a shit, but at the same time, I love that everybody's upset and that there's a possibility that we may all die in a nuclear fire. That's my take.
Like, that's the thing you have to watch about Threads. You watch Threads and you go, that's happening tomorrow. We're fucked. But I wouldn't again. Yeah.
But hey, I consider myself fairly well prepared for the coming nuclear apocalypse. I've got some water. I've got some hiking food. I learned about different types of radiation, so I'll probably be just fine.
Plus,
I played a lot of Fallout games, so I know.
Also, at least from my understanding about it, the only real issue. This is the great thing about politics. At least, because again, I come from the Australian perspective, which is a bit of a joke in many ways, because it's again, I think people are kind of overestimating a lot of things, and they're just setting themselves up for disappointment. Yes. Trump's a populist. He won because of these populist rhetoric. Okay, fine. But making the same argument for countries like Australia, Germany, France, I don't think you can make it the same as that. I know it goes on this massive geopolitical discussion that can go on for hours and hours, but fuck that. The thing I've learned is that it's the funny thing is about it though is that your life will be affected very minimally by the whims and the decisions of actual people in power. And what you're kind of, and it's kind of like a pretty nihilistic kind of point of view, but it's sort of what's kind of you're going to do in life is kind of already been set up before you were born. You will probably live to this time before you die. This is what's going to kill you. These are the risks of life. You elect someone else getting elected to being your leader probably isn't going to change that unless a massive war breaks out and millions of people have died. Then I'm wrong. But hey, but again, at least my the only fucking thing I care about is making sure the environment stays a-okay. Because I know, I'm not trying to be a green fag, but seriously, those fucking teddy bears, bro. Those koalas out there. They're so fucking cute. You just want to give them a little hug. You want to give them a little hug. You want to make sure you get no.
I don't think that's an appropriate way to interact.
Oh
with nature.
no, it's fine. I just pull them off the tree and I say, no, I'm giving you a hug. I take you home. Take them home.
And then their mother never takes them back, and they starve.
Oh my god.
On the what do you have in Australia? Do you have tundra? Do you have desert?
We have the gambit. That's the great thing, because I've been to the deserts, and the deserts is basically you die. You go to the deserts, you die. There's counties out there in my state right now, New South Wales. The counties are bigger than Texas. That's the great thing about it.
Nice. So your prospects for life, nuclear war or not, are not very good. You're probably going to die from some of the horrible things in the Australian outback before the war happens anyway.
The great thing about it, this is the great thing about Australian stuff, and this is why I've never bought into many of the arguments about it. The thing about Australia is that it doesn't matter if there's a nuclear war, Australia's fine, because it's we're all our cities have zero targets of opportunity. They're all scattered across the mainland. And if it all goes to shit, our capital is in this bushland area. We have a capital in the middle of a bush. There's nothing else around it. You can drive there and there's no one else around because it's all dead.
It's like a manufactured city, right? It just sprang up out of nowhere to become the capital. See, okay, I read a Bill Bryson travel book about Australia once, so I know just as much as you do about the country, obviously.
Oh.
I'm qualified to espouse about Australia.
You're on point, because the thing about a lot of
Canberra.
Oh yeah, Canberra. No, Canberra.
Okay.
No, it's a good it's a funny little city. It's kind of bizarre. I've been there a few times, and it's Again, that's the sad fact is that like the museums there would have like that's like the only place you can really go and get to actually have a look at a nice array of World War One equipment. Because like everywhere else, it's like there's only a few places in the year you can actually go and hey, I get to pick up a gun. I can't shoot it, but I can pick it up. That's kind of cool. But like I mean, that's one. I like Australia. I think it's a decent enough country. Come down here, get killed or something by one of the billion snakes we have. It's fine. The only issue is that the gun laws we have are kind of bizarre and don't really work. Because people have guns. Like a lot of people have guns. People still get killed by guns, but it's just I don't know, man. Like, I mean, my understanding of Americans, because I know, you definitely seem to be... I'm making a guess here, you're pro Second Amendment, right?
Does that answer your question?
That was good.
That's not even my carry piece. That's just a gun I'm playing with while we're talking. Like, that's how fucking American I am today. Shit.
Oh my god. Well, basically, like that's probably the one. That's like The funny thing about it though is that like at least my understanding of America and guns is that it isn't so much like you guys can have guns and that's fine, and historically you guys had guns for a fuck ton of your history. You didn't have any like mass murders or extreme amounts of violence. I mean, yes, you did have gangsters with Tommy guns, sure, but like when people talk about like, oh man, school shootings, you think of America, but the thing about it though is that like school shootings didn't happen until the 1990s, and but for decades before that you had like machine guns, you had plenty of World War II surplus guns that could have easily have slaughtered thousands of people with ease, but they didn't happen because people didn't. I mean, my understanding of it was that people weren't really thinking about it at the time. There wasn't this huge kind of infamy kind of system in place where people could kind of like, I'm gonna mass murder some people, they get on TV, get my name out, become an icon, and then I get to kind of push a narrative or kind of basically become a hero, not really a hero, but kind of come like a figurehead for something. And I guess when I say Columbine, you think of the shooting. Infamy. And but in countries which like Canada, for example, they have like lots of guns, but they don't have mass shootings because there isn't that whole infamy thing in place where people get on the TV, they get famous, then the next person does copycat killings. I mean, that's my understanding of it.
I think it's really interesting because in the United States we kind of had a couple different waves of gun control. So before the 1930s there was no gun control. It just like wasn't even a thing. And then when the gangster shit happened, they had to pass the National Firearms Act, which regulated machine guns, suppressors, short-barreled rifles, stuff like that was seen as being really, advantageous to the gangs. And of course, it had no effect on the gangs. The way that they got rid of the gangs was by ending prohibition. Right? Yeah. So the irony being that that's exactly what happened in the 80s, which caused a huge rise in gang violence, was a prohibition on, all sorts of drugs. And the solution to that has been to enact various types of gun control. Actually, there was one in 1968, was the Gun Control Act, which banned import of a bunch of small firearms, a bunch of foreign firearms.
Walther stuff there was that got banned.
Yeah, like really cool stuff that unfortunately you can't get anymore. And then in the 1986 Gun Control Act, which was some bullshit to do with banning machine guns, so no new production machine guns could be made and sold to civilians. So it's interesting now. Machine guns are a dying commodity. There is a finite number of them, and they're only wearing out and breaking with age, and they cost more than a car because there's so few of them, and everybody really wants them. But you're not allowed to buy new ones. Those new ones can only go to military or law enforcement. And then in 1994 there was the Gun Control Act, the Assault Weapons Ban, which is it's such a joke. I mean, it is really one of the worst ones. And the best way to do it is to compare it to Canada, where Canada has banned some guns. Like you can't have an AK. You just can't have an AK-47. You can have, I think, a Hungarian AMD 63 or something, which is basically just a Hungarian-built AK, if my understanding is correct, at least. But I mean, that's sort of the way that the assault weapons ban just banned features that sounded scary on paper. There's a really amazingly famous video of a guy who's was a Fox News correspondent, or is a Fox News correspondent now, and I think he was a CNN correspondent for a while, talking to one of the people who was a proponent of the assault weapons ban, and he's asking her point blank, "What is a barrel shroud? The bill bans the barrel shroud. What is a barrel shroud?" She has no fucking clue. It just sounds scary. Barrel shroud. All it is just something that goes around the barrel. So the assault weapons ban banned gangster guns like the Tech 9. And so all they did was make a version of the Tech 9 that didn't have these arbitrary features. And it was the same gun, it just wasn't as scary looking or scary sounding on paper, so therefore it was okay. And also ban, like reduced magazine capacities, whatever. You could make the argument for that. I don't think it's a convincing one. But the cool thing about the assault weapons ban is that it sunset in 2004. It's over, and we're back to being relatively normal, and now we're currently... Hopefully, the current administration can maybe do something about deregulating suppressors and short-barreled rifles, which Canada, no restrictions on those whatsoever, because they acknowledge that they're not really a danger. A suppressor is something that just protects your hearing and makes shooting more enjoyable and has less noise pollution. And a short-barreled rifle is just a cosmetic thing. It doesn't make your gun any more dangerous or any.
One of the things about it, though, is like people get there's a lot of misinformation when it comes. This is one of the things I would love to do if I got into politics or something, was to kind of open up shooting ranges where the public could actually go fire guns in a safe environment. Actually go. It actually isn't this kind of end of the world tool. It's basically just like using a knife. It's like using a bow and arrow, just a little bit more sophisticated. And again, that's the thing. You can do archery lessons in Australia. You can buy crossbows, you can buy hunting bows, you can buy all that shit. That's legal. That's fine. You don't need a license for that. But
and The Walking Dead told us that a crossbow is the most dangerous weapon of all.
That's the great thing about okay, so we can have all this shit, but no, can't learn anything about guns. But my understanding of it, it's like case suppressors, for example, they barely even function. There's only a few weapons out there that actually have suppressors or work with a suppressor well. But most of the time, you can hear a suppressed gun very easily. They don't make much of a difference. They're not like the movies where you fire a suppressing gun and it's like a suppressed gun. Yeah, it doesn't happen like that. It's like an actual bang. You can hear it through a room. The difference is that it kind of it's a less noise. There's a little bit less travel like that, and you won't be able to...
Yeah, the thing that really does damage to your hearing is the supersonic crack, and so that's any a bullet going faster than 1,100 feet per second over the speed of sound generates the supersonic crack and hurts the hell out of your ears. If you fire subsonic ammunition or you get a suppressor to reduce that noise, it's a lot quieter. It's still very obviously a gunshot, and it's still very audible over a great distance. It's just not so loud that it could damage your hearing. And of course, for real stealth tactical operations, there are some very quiet guns. Now they're still not like movie assassin quiet. You would definitely hear them unless you're in a military environment where you are a mile away from a guy.
Yeah.
In the civilian world, there is no application for a suppressor that would really benefit like assassins or anybody like that. I mean, it's just a fiction, and it would be really cool to have them deregulated, because the regulation is what's driving the price, and it means they're extremely expensive, and you have to pay a $200 tax stamp. So you're saying $500 for a suppressor, $200 for a tax stamp. That's a lot of money to spend just to make your gun more pleasant to shoot. So there's not a lot of market for it. If they get rid of that tax stamp, if they get rid of that really ridiculously complicated paperwork requirement, more people are going to buy them, more people are going to make them, the price is going to go down, and I dream of a world where everybody can have suppressors on their guns, because it would make shooting ranges so much more pleasant. It's like people freaking out, the assault weapons ban, freaking out over things like vertical grips, pistol grips versus stocks, thumbhole stocks. It's like, really doesn't make a difference. This is not going to help me massacre people or something. It's just more comfortable for me, just more enjoyable. You cannot clearly illustrate a reason for me not to have it.
Yeah.
And that's a very American mindset that not a lot of countries around the world necessarily share. But as part of my militant, angry, ridiculous libertarianism, I guess.
I agree with you. I'm not the big thing I believe in, probably one of the big things I believe in when it comes to gun crime and stuff is quite simple. It's going to happen anyway. People will use a weapon to kill someone else. It's kind of inevitable when it comes to human nature. Case in point, Japan, extremely high gun laws, But recently you had this mass murder. This guy walking into a hospital with a knife, stabbed and killed like 20 people. Like, vicious stuff.
Yeah, there was a big mass stabbing a couple years ago in China that killed 20-something people.
Yeah.
I mean, like, if somebody really wants to kill you, you can't stop them. Like, I mean, it's a really unfortunate, terrifying thing to think about. But if somebody wants you dead, you're just dead.
Yeah, that's the thing about it.
You know, if they don't care about the consequences, then you can't stop them. The only thing that prevents people from mass murdering all the time is the fear of consequences. And if somebody doesn't have that fear, then there is no stopping them. The best thing you can do is be armed yourself to fight back.
Now, to give a more controversial example, in Nice, in France, you had the attacker who just used a bus. He just, a truck, just rammed it into like a crowd of people, killed nearly 100 people, and it was like as a terrorist attack, super effective. I mean, not trying to be as a joke or anything, but it really was effective.
Gotta edit the Pokemon super effective sound effect into there just to be extra crass.
I really was thinking that right then. I was like, should I add it in?
I don't have any French fans, so say whatever, man.
Then you look at the analytics.
Oh, I hope not.
Well, basically, yeah, I think that's when it comes to it. It's like it really is like it's that's one of the things about, like, at least my understanding of it is that there's two things you could do really well. Kind of stop like the amount of like two things kind of just stop like the mass because you think people will get killed in gun crime, and it happens. Like, if you look at like the actual like the numbers, it's really high. The difference is it's not reported. Like, you'll find, all right, shootout with cops killed one guy, injured two others. Technically it's a mass shooting, but no one's going to really report about it because it's just criminals fighting with cops. But when it's like, guy walks into a school, kills 5 kids, it's like, holy fuck, that's intense. And it is intense, but it's also like that gets reported on news for like a week. And to me, at least, my understanding of it is that you basically get rid of what causes a lot of gun violence already in the States, which is drugs, like criminalization of drugs. So all you have to do is just decriminalize it so everyone can get high as a kite, and they can't kill anyone. Mission accomplished. It's like...
Yeah, and I think it's really dishonest to report on the gun crime problem because it's just a gang crime problem, and if gangs use guns, that's, in England they use knives, and that's why England has a bunch of absurd knife restrictions. Like, it's kind of funny. I have a lot of, not super gun friendly people that I know that still have like a pocket knife. And they're like, I don't see what the problem is with the regulation. I'm like, well, okay, in England they regulated all the guns. That didn't stop their gang violence problems, and so now they've regulated knives. So like that, you've got a Leatherman wave. It's a basic multi-tool. It's got a swing out blade. It's like 3 inches long. It's not even a very good blade, and it has a little tiny locking mechanism. That's illegal there. That's illegal in Japan. That's illegal in England because that is a dangerous knife. I mean, they've scaled down the violence to the point where that is now dangerous. Whereas here, we wouldn't consider that dangerous because we're more concerned with guns and, explosives or whatever. But, it never stops. It never goes away. You can reduce it, but you can't reduce it by enough to really justify the absurd lengths to which you go to impact, people who haven't done it.
I agree, because that's an issue that happens in a lot of, like, at least with Australia now, is that we had the Port Arthur massacre, which was like a huge event that happened in our history. Like, it's one that was run worldwide, and basically this this guy got an AR-15. He actually bought in the parts in. I think it was his brother, I believe, or like was like just asked for it. And basically, brother sent through the parts of an AR-15, got the AR-15 together, killed a shit ton of people, killed like 30 people. Awful stuff. Going to visit there later this year, so that should be interesting. Maybe I'll make a few jokes. But the thing about it though was that they did the huge gun buyback policy. Now, here's the funny thing about Australia. A lot, depending on who you ask someone on the left in America, it's like Australia's like the bastion, a utopian vision of the world where there's no gun crime. It's beautiful. Ask someone on the right, it's like just this disarmed population which are like at the behest of their own government. But if you actually live here, I know for a fact that a lot of people in Australia have guns. In fact, our gun rate ownership is higher than what it used to be prior to the gun buyback policy. Because a lot of people were like, okay, here's a gun, and then they just bought a newer gun, or they bought it overseas, they shipped it in, or they hid their guns, and they basically just bought it on auction houses and stuff. again, it's very loose because you can go out to the country with a zero oversight, zero regulation, and just go, hey, let's sell some guns here. Yep, let's buy some guns, and people can just buy some bolt-action rifles. You can buy an FAL if you want to. You can buy a MAC-10. You can buy a Glock. You can buy that for it'll cost a bit more, like maybe a 25% more than you'll maybe pay for it typically in America. But you can get it if you have the money. You can go out there and get it, and it's not an issue. But the thing is, though, it's the gun ownership is still high. You still have shootings, but it's just generally, but the thing about Australia is that we don't have this, at least my understanding of it, we don't have this system of making that you go to jail for 10 years for having a pocket of weed. We don't really do that. Typically, people I work with, they get high, and they'll come to work high, and no one bats an eye. No one gives a shit. Technically it's illegal. Technically they can get fined, but no one gives a shit, because it's who cares, not doing anything wrong, let them be. And it's as long as I don't eat anyone. And at least with America, that's one thing that I think, hopefully, and that's one of the things that was the silver lining, didn't matter what side of the political fence you were on, of the election, was having all those states legalize marijuana, which would mean that you could do your videos now a bit more stoned, perhaps, and influence Australia here.
Well, yeah, Oregon is really interesting. Oregon has been strongly Democratic for a long time. That's my state, Oregon. I don't know if most people probably know that, but we've pretty recently, it was 2 years ago, and it went into effect last summer. Marijuana was legalized, and almost overnight, my town sprung up into pot shops everywhere, just everywhere. And one of them, my favorite one, I drive past it every day on the way to work, has one of those green, wacky waving, inflatable arm flailing tube mans out front, and he says marijuana down the middle of him in big white letters, and has a little pot leaf. And he's just out there, every day. If the sun's out,
gotta take a photo.
Good, he's out there dancing.
Take a photo.
Yeah, I really should have. Once the weather clears up and they bring him back out, maybe in the spring, I'm gonna get a video of him dancing, the marijuana guy dancing. But it's I don't smoke pot. I'm never gonna smoke pot. And actually, my employer, I still technically can't smoke pot because it's against our drug policy, even if it's not illegal. And also another thing that we recently did, because we are moving more democratic, is our governor passed an executive order requiring universal background checks. And it's a weird subject, because the reason that people support universal background checks is because they don't understand the extent to which background checks are required. So there's the famous gun show loophole, which is not a real thing and never has been. A gun show is considered to be a firearms store. Therefore, buying a gun at a gun show, you are subject to a background check, and you always have been. The gun show loophole is that you could theoretically meet somebody there and arrange to meet later and buy a gun without a background check. But you can also do that with Craigslist. You can do that with the dark web. You can just do that in some back alley on a urban center. That's not a real thing. But it was scary sounding enough to get that background checks law rammed through by executive order by our governor. And the funny thing about it is that Oregon sheriffs or police chiefs, some organization of those guys said, look, you can't enforce this law. You can't enforce this law because all that this law outlawed that wasn't already illegal is like the sale of a guy to his neighbor saying, hey man, you want to buy my old shotgun? Yeah, sure. I'll give you $100 for it. Okay, cool. That's now illegal. Now technically they have to go to the gun shop, pay extra money, wait a whole bunch of time, get fingerprinted, get all ID'd and everything, wait for that transfer to come through before they can sell that shotgun. That you can't enforce that. People are just going to be like, hey man, you wanna buy my shotgun? Yeah, sure, why not? And of course, gang members could still buy an SKS out of the back of a truck somewhere. It's unenforceable, and it's not really. It's never been proven to be behind any sort of real crime, other than illegal guns. So yeah, it's ridiculous. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, and I don't know. I mean, I'm sure they're going to try for more because we're such a democratic state, and people are moving up here from California and bringing their shitty gun control with them.
But I mean, that's the funny thing. Yeah, that's the funny thing about at least my understanding of it is that it's a funny little argument here, like a little quagmire, at least for politics in America, is that you have state and federal laws, and right now you have a Republican, Senate and Congress, and we have a Republican leadership now in place with I don't know, next guy's gonna be your state attorney. He's an interesting fellow. I'm not sure his name's like Phil Peterson or something. Odd guy because he wants to criminalize. He's thinking about criminalizing like marijuana just nationwide, and it's kind of interesting that because it's like it seems to be like my understanding of it. Like you have the argument of the states' rights versus the federal rights, because I know that when the roles were reversed and it was more the Democrats. It was more like the Democrats wanted they wanted kind of like a universal gun regulation across the country, or at least they wanted to have more of it at least. And again, a lot of the sure, some states were accepting, but you had more states, and I know like at least for you, maybe not your state exactly, I'm not sure, but they would have been likely opposed to it. And the thing about it though is it's now the rules are reversed, and again at the time then it was people were like there's more argument for it because like universal background, the gun system will work better now that there's more oversight and regulation. It'll work better, be safer for people, yada yada. And there was the argument of the states' rights. Now the roles are flipped, or at least on the political spectrum. It's like, oh well, wait, it was states' rights to choose to legalize certain drugs, and now you have the possibility of a federal government to now to say no, fuck it, we're going to change it so that we overrule it completely. So it's given me this bit more perspective, again, yours and others, about how like the argument of the more state rights versus federal rights actually is a lot more nuanced than people think it is. At least that's my understanding of it. It doesn't follow like a generic left or right paradigm. Fuck it, whatever.
That's part of what makes libertarians so smug is that we see the pendulum going back and forth while we stay in our same centered position. Well, centered, I don't know, relatively centered, I guess. And we basically, from the perspective of the libertarians, you say, look, neither the left nor the right has any real principles. They just want things their way, and they'll use whatever justifications they can for it. So sometimes people will say, like for example, the Second Amendment. There are two simultaneous parallel attacks against the Second Amendment. One is, it doesn't matter what the Second Amendment says. We just shouldn't have guns. And the other argument is the Second Amendment clearly states the right of recognizing that a militia is necessary for the freedom of the people, the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. That means it's only for militia. So it's sort of like, all right, you got to choose an attack. Either it's only for militia or it doesn't matter. If it doesn't matter, then it's not only for militia because it doesn't matter. And if it's only for militia, then okay, fine. I now declare myself the First Oregon Militia. Awesome. I'm not going to do anything about it. I'm just, I'm a militia. I need to have guns to be in my own private militia. So there you go. It's an interesting way to argue. And I think like my libertarian dream is that the United States at the federal level says, in order to be a member of the United States of America, you have to ensure these basic freedoms for your people. So freedom to marry whoever the hell you want, freedom to put drugs in your body if that's what you're into, freedom to own firearms, defend yourself, freedom to do various things like that. Essentially, using the amendments as a line that cannot be crossed, and then say, you're the states. You can make your own you can make your own laws, you can make your own restrictions, but none of them can contradict these basic freedoms guaranteed at the federal level. And then totally take the federal government, take it step back, and just say, all right, that's all we care about. If you're in the United States and you're protected by the United States military and you are part of the United States government, you have these basic freedoms and the rest is up to you. So I think that's the argument in favor of states' rights. Although, again, like I said, people don't have real principles. So they're interested in states' rights if it is on the favor of what they like.
Yeah.
And they're not interested in states' rights if it's the other way around.
That's what I've learnt from it at least, because that's another issue. Like I remember, because a YouTube channel that I kind of like get some of my news sources from is Secular Talk run by Carl Kalinske. He's definitely more to the left than I am, but he actually it makes kind of good feeling, again, like I said, like nuanced kind of videos. And he made a very strong video about how he pointed out how like a lot of the executive power that Obama kind of implemented, and I know you have the ones that people talk about like gay marriage and gun regulation and all that, like the typical like those talking points, but he was focusing more on how you have like like shit like drone strikes and stuff like that. Like they're able to push forward like really hostile, like really again aggressive kind of policies, which without any real oversight or any actual real discussion beforehand. And again, that same thing that again you still had Democrats kind of like, yeah, it's fine, that's fine, let's not talk about that. That's the same shit that's been now put in place is now perfectly possible for again a Trump administration to actually implement. So again, it's a shit deal, and the conclusion I've learned at least from this is that holy fuck, you guys. But I'm hoping that you guys. I've told this to anyone that listens. Nuke the Eastern Seaboard.
Damn straight. It's interesting. When I was a kid, all right, I bought the party line, completely. Raised Democrat, and I used to think that the Deep South was just the scum of the earth, that everybody who lived there were just evil people, and I just believed that because of the way that we are taught about things like the Civil War and Jim Crow laws, racism, segregation. We're taught about those things in a certain way that really teaches most of the country to hate the South, and come to realize that maybe the problem is more along that eastern coast area. Maybe they're more more to blame for some of the problems in the world. But yeah, that's why I hate politics and everybody involved in politics.
I can respect the opinion because again, but I know I'm not trying to I'm not going to pry for any more details because I think it is good to have I think an issue, at least what happens in a lot of I think we have at least going onto Twitter and Facebook occasionally to follow some people. It's basically a lot of the time it's basically fuck those guys, and it happens all the time. They will sort of crux it a bit, so it's more they'll make an argument more for it. But most of the time, it's so frequent you'll see an argument from someone saying that person is bad. X is bad because it's either A, conservative, or B, liberal, and they'll use one or the other, and that's kind of it, and move on from there. And that's an issue. It's not really you're wrong because of this. It's I really hate that we can't find common ground anymore. Not that we ever. Of course, but I'm 26 years old. What do I know that we used to be able to find common ground, whatever. But I don't like that we can't find common ground, and maybe we never could, or maybe it's a recent development. Maybe it's something that's been, the internet has made it very easy to live in one echo chamber and go to war with the others. I don't know exactly what the circumstances of it are. I just know that being a person in the middle, I agree with some of the things that both sides have to say, but I don't agree with everything they have to say. And from both sides, that makes you seem like the enemy. Liberals say wait, you're in favor of the Second Amendment. That means you're a Republican. That means you're bad. And Republicans are wait, you're in favor of gay marriage. That means you're a Democrat. You're bad. And I'm like, well, that's terrible. And I'm seeing a bit of a modernization of the Republican Party, which makes me lean more Republican. That that they are realizing that gay marriage, and it's not even from there's no principles at stake here. Of course, there's nothing principled about either of those two parties. The reason that they're saying the Republicans are now being slightly more in favor of gay marriage is because they realize that's the way public opinion is swaying, and that's the way they're going to go. That's the only reason any side holds an opinion is because of public opinion. So that's that. Yeah, it's stupid, but if they're on the right side of that issue, then they get my support. And I agree with it, and that's kind of that's an issue. I was talking to another kind of political channel person was one time. I was asking me a few things, and it's kind of they talk about you have the alt-right, the SJW left, and then you kind of have what I like to kind of label the radical center, which is sort of you don't really pick a side because you either don't care or you don't see the point. And I'm kind of more into the latter, which I don't see the point of it at this time. Okay, so if I pick a centrist kind of position, or if I pick a left-wing position, a left-wing ideological group, what am I arguing against? Not much. I'm arguing against someone on the right, but what am I going to accomplish? Absolutely nothing. If it's reverse, I'm on the right, I'm arguing with someone on the left, nothing gets accomplished either way, so it's useless. At least that's my more maybe you would describe it nihilistic kind of point of view. It ain't gonna accomplish jack shit, so why bother? At the time, until the Eastern Seaboard gets nuked. Now I just realized this conversation has gone for 3.5 fucking hours, and I think I might, because it's gonna be a shit fest to edit and compile and get the right parts. So I might have to just say, because I'm running out of water, I'm hungry. I need to have snacks. And one of the
Yeah, I have to pee super bad, and I was strongly considering muting my microphone and peeing into my empty water bottle.
No.
So it's probably best that we just call it.
I'll call it here, and I'll probably break it up into sections, do like kind of a timestamp, so people want to kind of like go to the parts that you're interested in. It'll be in the description. People go through it. Up to you whether or not you want to support on your own channel or you want to recommend it. If you're okay with me, because I got the 2 streams of audio here, if they're fine, I'll just work through them and kind of like break them into like 30-minute bits, and it'll be like one whole video. It's just going to be kind of like I've done a similar thing before, which went for about similar time, 3 hours. But yeah, it's going to be a whole fun to find the timestamps. Anyway, you know what?
Yeah.
I will never okay, so I know this is more of a personal thing. It's like the last thing I wanted to ask you. I'm so sorry, but this last thing. Why does everyone keep saying that in your videos, dude, you look like a 13-year-old? How can you talk about a game?
Oh, jeez, I don't know. I have like I guess I have genetic problems where I don't age like a normal person. I'm assuming that's the reason why. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, you know, in my most recent videos, you're looking at about 26 years of nonstop beard growth, and that's as much beard as I've ever had. No beard at all. Yeah, I don't know, just a youthful person, and that's a really easy way to diminish somebody else's opinion. You know, it's not even quite ad hominem so much as it is a complete lack of willing to engage. It's not your opinion is wrong because of who you are. It's just you don't get to have an opinion because you're nobody.
I love the arguments now. Like, it's like it is pretty much one of the, like they say, it's like sarcasm is the lowest form of wit. Well, criticizing like someone's argument based on the age of the person is like pretty fucking low, personally. Not even like it's rude. It's just it doesn't refute. It refutes jack shit. It does literally nothing.
And I think the thing that I find most hilarious about it is that people that are my age or older, they would never say something like that.
Oh no, they wouldn't. Oh.
You know, it's always, and it's funny because I click on their channel and I watch their shitty videos and I'm like, oh, so this person is 14 years old.
Nope.
Like they're legitimately 14 years old. And that's the best thing they can say is that I'm 14 years old. You look like you're 13 years old. Therefore, I
know.
Therefore, I know what I'm talking about, and you don't.
But I mean, you know, it is the sad fact. I'm kind of frustrated that your channel hasn't really grown much larger. Because again, I really like your work, man. I think it really deserves more attention. And you know, I honestly would say that it would probably, again, like it might grow a bit better faster if you upload more, but at the same time, man, you know, you produce some top-notch vids, and as long as you're like, seriously, I'd be fine if you produced maybe 2 to 4 of those like really high quality, like, you know, Half-Life videos a year. If you produce just 3 or 4 of them a year, that's like Wunderberg, man. That shit's legit. But anyway,
yeah, well, I mean, I definitely will try, and that's the thing is I'm not really planning to go anywhere, and I just don't work super fast because, you know, I work a full-time job and I have a couple of different hobbies, you know, like my obvious semi-recent and semi-involved hobby is to shoot guns and write about guns and do stuff like that, and that, you know, that's a big time sink to have multiple hobbies: play games, shoot guns, write about games and guns, and produce videos about games. I mean, you know, and a lot of it is just that it is a lack of motivation. It is like you know, you get home from working and you're like, you know what, I would like to just watch some Netflix instead of working on a video, and I could definitely stand to have a better work ethic, and I think if I did upload more videos that I would be able to grow the channel, but it's not something that's super important to me that I've really worked on it. But yeah, I mean, it is interesting. It is strange that I do think if more people watched the show, more people would enjoy it. Like, I don't think that my 4,000 subscribers are the only people in the world that would enjoy the show. I think there are more people out there who would like it. So it's just a matter of time to grow out. And yeah, I guess we'll see what happens.
Well, anyway, I really want to say, man, is thank you so much for your time. You know, it's really cool getting to talk to you finally. Thanks, Roland, for like just having this one-on-one discussion. If you have any like real, again, if you you know, again, so much fucking shit to talk about. Hope I didn't blow up your wallet. Shit, I just realized. Is it rude of me to ask like what your job is, like the field?
I am a computer janitor. It's like being a janitor, but I fix computers instead.
Oh, see, would you say?
So I describe it. It's IT.
Yeah.
You know, I'm an IT professional.
Would you say?
If I had a LinkedIn, I would say I was an IT professional. But what I actually do is just monkey around computers and do dumb stuff all day.
Is it a good job? Would you say?
Yeah, it's I enjoy my job. It's a steady job, which is not something everybody my age has anyway, and it pays pretty well. So, I enjoy what I do, and maybe I have these crazy pipe dreams of being like a famous Hollywood director, but it turns out the real world is actually just about as interesting. That's what it's kind of funny to talk to people and tell them, like as it turns out, like I know you're terrified of this because you're still in college or something, like talking to like my sister, talking to people that are younger than me, and like saying, I know you're really terrified that you're going to get stuck in a job and you're just going to work 5 days a week and then you're just going to have your weekends free. But like, let me tell you something, having a steady job and a pretty good paycheck and having your weekends free, like a reliable, having your every weekend free and even getting like some paid vacation time, that's surprisingly nice.
No, yeah.
maybe I'm not thinking big enough, but like I know it sounds, a lot of young people think that they're going to do something awesome and they're really terrified of this, but I think it's their fear of doing a 9 to 5, let's call it gray collar, not white collar, not blue collar, just a gray collar normal person job, seems really scary as an alternative to changing the world. But if you're so afraid of this that you end up working 10 hours a week at Burger King, like, all right, trust me, this is so much better. So, I have a boring normal life, and it gives me the funds and the freedom to pursue this absurd hobby.
Like, so, it sounds pretty good to me.
I'd say, yeah, things are.
I mean,
good.
It sounds pretty good to like as someone that also does work. But I mean, not like casual for the time being. I'd say it sounds pretty goddamn good, honestly. Like, I mean, I don't think I can get much more, as they say, dank when you break it down. I know. But I mean, no, really, it's like as long as you're able to now buy copies of Blood Omen, and you're able to run them on your computers. That's pretty much like the best way to live. The only
yeah, it's like what would I do? What else would I do? Like, this dovetails into my depressing nihilism, but it's like all I'm doing is keeping myself busy until I die. Like. Well, and this is a great way to spend time.
It's inherently wrong. It's true. Well, it's kind of true, bro. It's like you spend your time with things that make you satisfied with life, and you hopefully call some drama on YouTube to make some cool AdSense, a la Leafy.
Yeah.
But that's
we'll see. People get so pissed off when they see a controversial video that gets a lot of views. They're like, "You fucker, you're getting AdSense for this," and you're like, "Not as much as you think."
But like that's one of the things. But who knows, man? Like if all else fails, you can always do Let's Plays. Or
if that day ever comes, I might just kill myself instead.
Or probably the most underrated aspect of your channel, you open up the Armory again.
Well, I think I can actually just include that same content in regular videos without having to have a stupid segment for it. So, you'll see that same style of content. I have actually, it's another one of those long range video plans that I've had, but basically to talk about the AR-15 in video games.
But dude,
just the concept, the execution, the history, everything like that.
Remember how cool it was, the bullet, the magazines, the bullets in the magazine, how unique that was. They were the days. Actually, I'm pretty sure I made that video unlisted, so I don't remember how good it is. And I don't know what you're talking about. I find it occasionally. Like I look through your channel and I go, aha, there it is. I can get it. You've got into one of your playlists, so I can still find it.
Oh shit! I didn't sanitize properly.
I want to watch it one more time, like after this talk, just to make sure, like the full Roland experience one last time.
Right. All right.
But okay.
All right. Well, thanks for dragging me on here. It was really excellent time, and we should do this again, and maybe generate some more concise topics that are more time sense or time.
Well, okay. I want to say thank you very much, man, and as all, I want to say it's been great having this talk with you, and really appreciate it. Hopefully, I didn't bug you too much to get you on, and one thing will lead to another, and we can resurrect Life Sucks Then You Die podcast.